This is the part 3 of the novel. For other parts, please refer to the description of this video or the video list on the channel. Chapter 40, Boss, I'm not really angry. Brother Qin. Xiang Shui opened her eyes and saw Qin Fan, immediately speaking. Awake, huh? Qin Fan withdrew his hand from the bathtub, asking, how do you feel? I've never felt so comfortable in my life, thank you, Brother Qin. Xiang Shui smiled and spoke to Qin Fan. However, as she spoke, her face suddenly turned red because she realized she was completely naked in the bathtub. Yet, due to the herbs Qin Fan had added, the water had turned black, obscuring the situation. Nevertheless, she knew it was for her treatment, so she wasn't angry. This is the first treatment. To completely heal you, we'll need follow-up sessions, Qin Fan said, paying no mind to it. Blushing, Xiang Shui nodded. She no longer doubted Qin Fan and said, but I don't have money. No need for money, Qin Fan smiled, perhaps in the future, I may need your assistance. Assist you? Xiang Shui immediately became nervous, wondering if Qin Fan would make a certain request. Don't worry, it won't be that kind of task. Plus, if you help me, I'll pay you, Qin Fan reassured. Upon hearing this, Xiang Shui looked at Qin Fan in astonishment and asked, can I really help Brother Qin? Of course, Qin Fan replied with a smile. Encountering someone with the special physique of a Taiyin spirit for the first time in his adult life, Qin Fan wasn't sure how it would affect his cultivation journey, but he was certain it wouldn't be inferior to those with celestial roots. However, he had no intention of telling Xiang Shui about teaching her cultivation. It was unnecessary and he needed to conceal his identity. With his guidance, even in a place like Earth with scarce cultivation resources, Xiang Shui could eventually reach the level of forming a golden core after decades. Then, she would be able to help him in many ways. This was why Qin Fan wanted to assist Xiang Shui. Upon hearing Qin Fan's words, tears welled up in Xiang Shui's eyes. What's wrong? If you don't want to, I won't force you. There's no need to cry, Qin Fan said as he noticed Xiang Shui was about to cry. No, it's not that. I'm deeply moved, truly deeply moved. Xiang Shui's voice trembled with emotion. I've always been frail and sickly since I was young, always being seen as a burden by others. But Brother Qin said I could help you, so I'm deeply moved. Xiang Shui's voice carried a hint of sorrow, making her already beautiful appearance even more pitiable. Alright, no need to cry. I'll leave first, and you should come out too. Your clothes are being washed, so put on a bathrobe and rest here tonight, Qin Fan said before leaving. Ding dong, ding dong. After Qin Fan left the bathroom, the sound of a bell rang. Who's there? Qin Fan wondered, having instructed not to be disturbed. Is it urgent? He walked over, opened the door, and saw Lin Qingyan standing outside with a cold expression. Why are you here? Qin Fan was surprised to see Lin Qingyan. Am I interrupting something good? Lin Qingyan's face was cold. Something good? Qin Fan looked puzzled. What good thing? Pretend. Keep pretending. Lin Qingyan's anger surfaced, and she pushed Qin Fan aside, storming into the room. Let me see, which fox? However, before Lin Qingyan could finish her sentence, she froze. She saw Xiang Shui coming out in a bathrobe, her hair dripping wet. Xiang Shui. Lin Qingyan stared in disbelief. Sister. Xiang Shui also noticed Lin Qingyan's presence and called out. In an instant, Lin Qingyan recalled the time when Qin Fan and Xiang Shui exchanged contact information at the breakfast shop. Now, just a few days later, they were renting a room together, caught red-handed by her. Suddenly, Lin Qingyan's eyes reddened, feeling utterly wronged. She had taken Qin Fan out for dinner, only for him to take advantage of the opportunity to hook up with her junior sister. The pain of being betrayed by both of them simultaneously hit her. You're still weak. Get to bed early. At that moment, Qin Fan spoke to Xiang Shui. Lin Qingyan erupted, raising her hand to slap Qin Fan. But Qin Fan wouldn't let himself be slapped by Lin Qingyan. He caught her hand and said, What are you doing? Don't go too far. Am I going too far? Lin Qingyan trembled with anger. You've done such despicable things, and you say I'm going too far. What despicable things have I done? Qin Fan looked puzzled. You're cheating. Lin Qingyan gritted her teeth. Cheating? Qin Fan was shocked to hear this. Meanwhile, Hong Chang and Xiang Shui, hearing the conversation, knew there was a big misunderstanding. Miss Lin, please don't be impulsive. Things aren't as you think. Hong Chang hurriedly interjected. I don't care about your explanations. Leave. Lin Qingyan snapped. She didn't want outsiders meddling in this. Hong Chang could only sneak away. What have you done to Xiang Shui? She's not well, and she's young. How could you be so shameless? Lin Qingyan's eyes filled with tears as she looked at Qin Fan. Seeing Lin Qingyan like this, Qin Fan couldn't help but smile and remain silent. Why aren't you saying anything? Are you thinking about how to explain? Lin Qingyan raised her voice. Sister, it's not what you think. Brother Qin saved me. Seeing Lin Qingyan's distress and Qin Fan's silence, Xiang Shui hurriedly spoke up. Ha! Lin Qingyan was stunned. She looked at Xiang Shui and asked, Saved you? What happened? Sister, it's like this. Xiang Shui quickly explained her situation to Lin Qingyan. Brother Qin and I are innocent. If you don't believe it, you can ask the security guard just now. Also, Brother Qin didn't do anything in this room. He was helping me with my illness. After finishing her explanation, Xiang Shui continued to explain the current situation. Lin Qingyan calmed down at this moment, but seeing Xiang Shui in a bathrobe, she still had doubts. However, seeing Qin Fan's neat attire and hearing the security guard's confirmation, she suddenly realized she must have misunderstood them. I'm sorry, I misunderstood you. Lin Qingyan apologized. I understand, sister was just worried about Brother Qin. Xiang Shui quickly said. Why would she worry about me? You've misunderstood, Xiang Shui, Qin Fan finally spoke. Ha? Xiang Shui looked at Qin Fan with confusion. Don't say more. Lin Qingyan glared at Qin Fan. Brother Qin, sister is very kind. As long as you explain well, she will listen, Xiang Shui said to Qin Fan. There's no need to explain, Qin Fan said helplessly. Upon hearing Qin Fan's words, Lin Qingyan's eyes dimmed suddenly. She understood Qin Fan's meaning. They were just pretending to be lovers, so Qin Fan didn't need to explain. Even if he spent the night with Xiang Shui, Lin Qingyan had no reason to be upset, but for some reason, she was angry. Xiang Shui still looked puzzled. Alright, stay here and rest. When you're ready for the follow-up treatment, contact me, Qin Fan said as there was nothing more to say. After speaking, he walked away. Seeing Qin Fan leave, Lin Qingyan thought he was angry and hurried to catch up. Qin Fan, I was impulsive just now. As long as you explain it to me, everything will be fine. Don't be angry, Lin Qingyan said as she caught up to Qin Fan. Boss, I'm really not angry, Qin Fan replied calmly. Chapter 41, No Parking Spaces. Upon hearing the word boss, Lin Qingyan froze in place, watching as Qin Fan walked away into the distance. Why aren't you leaving? Do you want to stay here? Qin Fan shouted to Lin Qingyan, who hadn't caught up yet. Hearing Qin Fan's voice, Lin Qingyan snapped back to reality and quickly caught up. However, at that moment, she didn't know what to talk to Qin Fan about. How come you're here? Qin Fan inquired. Tonight, I came here to discuss a collaboration with a client and signed a cooperation agreement, Lin Qingyan replied promptly upon Qin Fan's inquiry. It seems your company is doing better and better, Qin Fan remarked. It's still early. I intend to make Xioli the most outstanding media company in Xia country. Lin Qingyan's eyes sparkled with enthusiasm as she talked about her work. Then you should continue to work hard, Qin Fan responded. By the way, I think you have a good image. Would you like to be an anchor at our company? The income could be quite high, Lin Qingyan suggested as she looked at Qin Fan, immediately struck with an idea. Qin Fan's appearance and temperament were exceptionally outstanding with just a bit of grooming, making him suitable as an anchor, or even a star with the right push. Let's forget about it. I don't have the time for that, Qin Fan declined. Is it because you're busy at the hospital? Lin Qingyan asked curiously. Yes, Qin Fan replied vaguely. At the hospital, with Zhao Ruiheng there, he could come and go as he pleased. However, he spent more time contemplating the Tao of Heaven. You could resign, you know? The income from the hospital is far lower compared to being an anchor or a star. Lin Qingyan seemed reluctant to give up. You could consider Xiang Shui. Qin Fan wasn't interested and instead recommended Xiang Shui. Upon hearing this, Lin Qingyan hesitated for a moment before saying, Xiang Shui's health isn't good, or else I would have contacted her earlier. Don't worry, Xiang Shui's health will soon recover, Xin Fan reassured her. Are you really that skilled in medicine? Lin Qingyan immediately asked. Not particularly, Xin Fan replied truthfully. You're just bluffing, Lin Qingyan scoffed. Anyway, since you're unwilling, I'll find someone else later. I'll also check with Xiang Shui if she's feeling better. After that, they each got into their respective cars and returned home. When they arrived home, it was already late, and Aunt Wan was already asleep. Are you hungry? I'll make something for you, Lin Qingyan suddenly said to Qin Fan after they got home. Qin Fan was taken aback by this offer and said, You still cook? Lin Qingyan became irritated upon hearing this and retorted, Eat if you want. Then, she changed into her home attire, tied an apron around herself, and started working in the kitchen. Soon, 2 steaming bowls of noodles were served. Enjoy. Lin Qingyan said with a stern face. Qin Fan began to eat and remarked, Your cooking skills are quite impressive. Humph, Lin Qingyan snorted proudly, then focused on Qin Fan while eating. Seeing Qin Fan eating heartily, she suddenly felt a strange emotion creeping up in her heart. She quickly shook her head to dispel the feeling and quickly finished her noodles. After finishing their meal, they both went to their respective rooms. Qin Fan continued to contemplate the Tao of Heaven and condense his qi, but he made little progress the next day. Lin Qingyan went to work as usual, while Qin Fan unexpectedly received a phone call from Ning Rushuan. Mr. Qin, do you have time now? Ning Rushuan asked. What's the matter? Qin Fan inquired. I haven't properly thanked you for what happened before, so I'd like to invite Mr. Qin to the Qianhuang Manor today to express my gratitude, Ning Rushuan spoke earnestly. Qin Fan wasn't initially inclined to agree, but he remembered that it was likely Ning Rushuan who reported to the Security Bureau the night Lin Qingyan was kidnapped. Since reporting to the Security Bureau made it easier for him to explain to Lin Qingyan, he found it convenient. With that in mind, Qin Fan agreed, alright. Then I'll add Mr. Qin on WeChat and send the location later, Ning Rushuan said. Okay, Qin Fan responded before ending the call. After hanging up, Qin Fan saw that Ning Rushuan had added him on WeChat and sent the location. Looking at the time, Qin Fan then drove to Qianhuang Manor in his Honda Fit. About 40 minutes later, Qin Fan arrived at Qianhuang Manor. Qianhuang Manor was located on the west side of Jiangcheng, near the valuable land by the river, with lush trees and beautiful surroundings. To the south of the riverbank, there was a bustling commercial street, with various high-end shops offering luxury goods and upscale restaurants. Among them stood a building with ancient charm, bearing the distinctive features of ancient Xia country, Qianhuang Manor. In the manor's parking lot, luxury cars filled the spaces, such as Land Rovers, Porsches, and Ferraris, indicating the wealthy and prestigious nature of the clientele. Qin Fan's Honda Fit stood out like a sore thumb among these cars. As he found a parking space and prepared to park, a staff member hurried over, impatiently tapping on Qin Fan's car window. Qin Fan rolled down the window, feeling somewhat puzzled. Is there something wrong? Sorry, there are no parking spaces here. You'll have to park outside, the staff member said disdainfully. No parking spaces? Qin Fan paused for a moment, then glanced around. Isn't there one behind me? What kind of car are you driving, and what kind of cars are here? Do you really think you're qualified to park here? The staff member scoffed. They're all cars, aren't they? What's the difference? Qin Fan couldn't help but laugh. In his eyes, all cars were the same, there was no distinction. Those cars? One of their rearview mirrors could buy your entire vehicle. How can you compare? Besides, Qianhuang Manor is a private club. If you're not coming here, you're not qualified to park here, the staff member continued scornfully. How do you know I'm not coming to Qianhuang Manor? Qin Fan asked. Brother, can you stop kidding? Do you know what Qianhuang Manor is? Everyone who comes here drives luxury cars. You come here with this junky car. Do you have the face to come, and we have the face to serve? The staff member retorted. Sure enough, a Maserati MC20, worth nearly 3 million, drove up. Is there still a parking space available? The window rolled down, and a man stuck his head out, shouting at the staff member. Yes, let me have him move the car away immediately, the staff member said obsequiously upon seeing the Maserati, then turned to Qin Fan, speaking coldly, Move your car and don't delay this young master from parking. What if I don't move? Qin Fan asked. This is Qianhuang Manor. If you dare to cause trouble here, you won't be able to handle it, the staff member said angrily. The man who was driving the Maserati got out of the car and walked to Qin Fan's fit, saying, "What a junky car. Hurry up and move it, don't hinder me from parking." Qin Fan glanced at the man, then got out of the car and said, "Keep an eye on my car. If there's any damage, you won't be able to handle it." With that, Qin Fan didn't park the car but walked away. Chapter 42, Kneel down and apologize to me, I may spare you once. If you don't move, I'll smash your junky car. Seeing Qin Fan walking away, the man driving the Maserati immediately shouted at him. I've said it before, if there's any problem with the car, none of you can handle it. Qin Fan replied calmly. With that, Qin Fan continued walking towards Qianhuang Manor without stopping. In an instant, the man driving the Maserati felt ignored and humiliated. He was consumed with anger and took a step forward, grabbing Qin Fan's shoulder. Don't be too arrogant, or you won't be able to bear the consequences, the man threatened. That threat suits you better. Let go now, and you still have a chance. Qin Fan calmly responded. Still pretending? I'll show you how you can't bear it, the man sneered coldly. Before he could finish his words, he kicked Qin Fan from behind. Sensing the man's movement, Qin Fan swiftly turned around and struck out with his hand. Slap! The sound of a slap echoed, and the man was instantly knocked to the ground, his mouth full of blood and several teeth missing. Do you dare to retaliate against me? I'll kill you, the man roared at Qin Fan. But Qin Fan remained indifferent, looking coldly at the man. Don't even think about finding out who I am. I'm someone you can't afford to provoke. With that, Qin Fan continued walking towards Qianhuang Manor. The staff member was dumbfounded. A person driving a Honda Fit had just beaten up someone driving a Maserati. Was he seeking death? He quickly ran to the man's side, helping him up and asking, "Are you all right?" The man pushed away the staff member's hand. This guy driving a small junky car dared to show off in front of me and even dared to fight back, not moving his car, huh? I'll show him how I'll deal with him. With that, the man got into his car, started the engine, and then aggressively rammed into Qin Fan's Honda Fit. Instantly, the Honda Fit was left in a terrible state, and then the man forcefully pushed Qin Fan's car out of the way. The staff member was trembling with fear. This man was too ruthless. Not only had he wrecked the Honda Fit, but the Maserati was also now damaged. That was nearly a 3 million car, yet he treated it as if it were worthless. Thinking about this, the staff member looked at Qin Fan walking into Qianhuang Manor with sympathy. Offending someone like him would definitely lead to a miserable end. Alright, your car is done for. It's time to deal with you. This is the territory of Qianhuang Manor. If I don't kill you, my name isn't Bai. The man got out of the car and spoke harshly. Bai? The staff member's expression changed upon hearing Bai. Are you someone from Lord Bai? I'm Bai Yi, the eldest son of Lord Bai. I just returned from abroad yesterday, and today I encounter someone daring to act arrogantly on my turf. Let's see how I'll deal with him. Bai said immediately. The staff member was stunned. Qianhuang Manor had 4 branches, and Bai Yi, under the leadership of Lord Bai, held a high position, second only to the manor's owner, Ning Rushuan. Now, his son, who had just returned from abroad, was beaten up, and it happened in Qianhuang Manor. That person was in for it. Soon, Bai Yi took out his phone and made a call. Tan Tao, I was attacked in the parking lot of Qianhuang Manor. After a few words, he hung up. Soon, a black Mercedes drove in, and a muscular man in white martial arts attire stepped out. The staff member was breathless at the sight of this person. His name was Tan Tao, a martial arts expert under Bai Yi's father, Bai Yi. He was extremely skilled and loyal to Bai Yi. Seeing the man, Bai Yi called out. Young master, who dared to attack you here? Tan Tao was somewhat surprised to see the injuries on Bai Yi's face. This was their territory. Yet someone dared to attack the young master of the Bai family. Was this seeking death, or seeking death? It's some trash driving a small car. He's already gone inside. Bai Yi gritted his teeth. At Tan Tao's words, Bai Yi pointed at Qin Fan. Tan Tao immediately took a seat opposite Qin Fan and said, whoever used his hand to strike the young master, he shall cut off that hand himself, and then kneel down to apologize to the young master. I may consider sparing him. Xin Fan looked at Tan Tao and calmly asked, "If I had casually struck a rabid dog, would that dog be your young master?" Bold. Tan Tao's face suddenly turned extremely gloomy, and then he quickly picked up the hot tea on the table and splashed it towards Xin Fan. Xin Fan's reaction was natural and fast. He moved his body effortlessly, easily avoiding the scalding tea. In that moment of evasion, Xin Fan's hand was already on Tan Tao's shoulder. Tan Tao's face changed suddenly, wanting to break free. But the next moment, his body was lifted into the air, and with a splash, he was thrown directly into the water, causing a huge splash. Tan Tao. Bai Yi looked at this scene in shock, unable to believe that Tan Tao had been thrown into the water by the other party. He had heard from his father that Tan Tao was a rare innate master in Jiangcheng. Although he was only at the innate stage, there were only a few people in Jiangcheng who could beat him. Xin Fan stood in the waterside pavilion, looking down at Tan Tao in the water, and calmly said, "For the offense just now, if you kneel down and apologize to me now, I may spare you once." Chapter 43, Is that gentleman Mr. Xin? If you kneel down now and apologize to me, I can spare you this time. Mr. Xin stood before the damaged window, his gaze fixed upon Mr. Tan, speaking with a calm tone. Though he appeared ordinary, being in a mortal state did not imply tolerance for disrespect. Moreover, his current state allowed for swift retaliation. When hot tea was about to be splashed on him just moments ago, had he not been in this state, the assailant would have met their end instantly. "Do you want Mr. Tan to kneel and apologize?" Mr. Bai's voice rang out loudly in response to Mr. Xin's words. "Do you know whose territory this is? Do you know who Mr. Tan is? This man has some nerve, daring to lay hands on Mr. Tan at the Phoenix Manor. Is he seeking death? This man is incredibly audacious. I wonder if his courage matches his fate. I wonder how he got in here. Did he not know Mr. Tan's identity or where this is? Perhaps he sought to make a grand entrance, committing such foolish acts to attract attention." The commotion quickly drew attention, making this place the center of attention. People from the manor rushed over, filled with disdain for Mr. Qin. Mr. Tan's position within the Phoenix Hall was high, being among the outstanding members of the younger generation, a potential candidate for the next leader of the hall. Mr. Qin's assault on him made him seem like a clown who had infiltrated the area. I didn't expect him to be a master. As Mr. Tan climbed out of the water, activating his true qi, steam rose around him, drying his clothes instantly. "Tan, finish him off." Mr. Bai, noticing Mr. Tan's increased strength after years of absence, likely reaching an early stage of the innate realm, immediately shouted. Mr. Tan cracked his neck, clenched his fists, emitting a series of cracking sounds, indicating his formidable strength. I was a bit careless just now. It's been a long time since I encountered a formidable opponent in Jiangcheng. So? Mr. Xin chuckled lightly in response. So, let me see now how much you can withstand, Mr. Tan said, stepping forward swiftly. With lightning speed, he reached Mr. Qin, his fist aimed directly at Mr. Xin's vital point. The punch was powerful, even accompanied by the sound of thunder. Thunderous fist, the White Master's ultimate technique. Finish him. The cries from the crowd urged Mr. Tan on. Facing Mr. Tan's attack, Mr. Xin did not even flinch, standing still. Boom. Mr. Tan's fist smashed into Mr. Xin's chest, emitting a thunderous roar. A burst of energy erupted, creating a gust of wind, demonstrating the terrifying force behind the punch. However, Mr. Xin remained unmoved, as if nothing had happened, not even the hem of his clothes fluttered. Is that all? Mr. Xin retorted. Seeing this scene, the cheers from the crowd abruptly ceased, replaced by incredulous expressions. Mr. Tan's face turned pale, stepping back several steps in succession, looking incredulous. Impossible. My punch just now, even a master at the peak of the innate realm may not be able to withstand it easily. You don't even have true qi. You're just an ordinary person. How could you withstand my punch? Who says ordinary people cannot withstand it? Mr. Xin replied calmly. After saying this, he breathed out towards Mr. Tan. Boom. Mr. Tan was sent flying more than 10 meters away, breaking a thick tree before crashing to the ground, coughing up several mouthfuls of blood, groaning in agony. The entire scene fell silent, everyone wearing expressions of disbelief. Mr. Tan's legs were twisted and broken, a horrifying sight. And you, when I go out later and find something wrong with my car, be prepared. Mr. Sheen looked at Mr. Bai. Mr. Bai's face turned pale. He had already wrecked Mr. Sheen's car beyond recognition. Before he collided, nobody told him how formidable Mr. Sheen was. Do you dare to hurt Mr. Tan? Do you know the status of our Bai family in Zhongcheng? Mr. Bai glared at Mr. Sheen angrily. The status of the Bai family is irrelevant. What matters in Zhongcheng is that there's no one I can't deal with. Mr. Sheen smiled lightly. His words stunned everyone, especially the women, whose eyes sparkled with admiration and infatuation as they looked at Mr. Sheen. Regardless of whether Mr. Sheen's words were true, saying such things in this atmosphere was undeniably domineering. This was the true essence of a man. Mr. Bai, upon hearing this, began to retreat, revealing a look of fear. Now he was genuinely afraid. Miss Ning is here. At this moment, several voices rang out. Then, Ning Rushuan, dressed in fashionable attire, with long, graceful strides, approached. Behind Ning Rushuan, there were a man and a woman in uniform. Miss, there's trouble here. Miss Ning, Mr. Tan has been crippled. You need to teach this guy a lesson quickly. Ning Rushuan's appearance immediately caused a stir, with everyone shouting to her. Ning Rushuan had no idea what was going on. Originally, she was waiting for Mr. Sheen at the waterside pavilion. However, she received a call, which was from the Public Security Bureau. The Phoenix Hall was an underground force, so she had to take the call from the Public Security Bureau seriously unexpectedly. After answering the call, she was informed that 2 military personnel wanted to see her. She naturally couldn't neglect this and went to meet the 2 from the military. After receiving the 2 from the military, she found out that they were asking about the abandoned pier incident. That night, she reported it to the Public Security Bureau, and her Bentley was parked at the abandoned pier by Mr. Sheen. Naturally, this linked her to the matter at the abandoned pier. Although the news had been completely sealed off, with the power of the Phoenix Hall, she still learned something. There was a master who killed people at the abandoned pier, and the deceased seemed to have an unusual background. Now, the military was looking for this master because the car led them to her. However, after explaining everything to them, the 2 from the military did not trouble her and left. She then returned to see Mr. Sheen. But now that she was back, it seemed that something big had happened. Miss, let's see how he ends up. This guy dares to cause trouble in the Phoenix Hall's territory. He's doomed this time. If Miss Rushuan hadn't prohibited hands-on actions here, I would have dealt with this trash long ago. Seeing Ning Rushuan's appearance, those who were initially stunned by Mr. Sheen's actions began to boast boldly again, their faces full of arrogance, as if they could trample Mr. Sheen underfoot. However, upon seeing Mr. Sheen and the legs of Mr. Tan, they suddenly felt a chill. Mr. Tan's 2 legs were twisted and broken, a gruesome sight. And you, why did you dare to hurt? Chapter 44, is Mr. Sheen someone you can provoke? As Ning Rushuan gazed upon Tan Tao, whose legs were broken by Qin Fan, a tempest of shock and awe surged within her heart. Tan Tao, a figure she knew well from childhood due to his exceptional martial arts talent, meticulously nurtured by Bai Yi, now possessed formidable martial prowess, ranking among the top 10 in Jiangxing. However, he lay unconscious, his legs shattered by Qin Fan. Ning Rushuan, a woman able to command the Phoenix Hall, must be exceedingly astute. Just as she had discerned Qin Fan's extraordinary healing abilities before, not merely ordinary medical skills, now, combined with the previous inquiries from the military, she instantly associated Qin Fan with that mysterious expert. In that instant, she was certain Qin Fan was no ordinary individual. Mr. Qin, I must apologize sincerely. Ning Rushuan approached Qin Fan respectfully. This matter does not concern you, there's no need for you to apologize on behalf of others, Qin Fan replied. Xin Fan was not the sort to be unreasonable, blindly ignoring right and wrong. He knew precisely who was at fault in this situation. I truly had no idea such an incident would occur, and I apologize for offending you, Ning Rushuan said with a bitter smile. In that moment, those who had previously been eager to see how Ning Rushuan would handle Xin Fan froze in astonishment, their inner worlds engulfed by towering waves of shock. Ning Rushuan, the helmswoman of Jiangqing's largest underground force, the Phoenix Hall, now displayed such reverence before the other party. Tan Tao, crippled by the adversary, not only failed to seek revenge, but also offered an apology. In an instant, those present felt incredulous. Tan Tao held a significant position within the Phoenix Hall. This man, Xin Fan, must possess an extraordinary background to command such deference from Ning Rushuan. Those who had previously mocked Xin Fan now regretted their words deeply. A man who could command such respect from Ning Rushuan must be of extraordinary status. Though they whispered it was perhaps the work of Zhang Tianxiong, the truth was far from it. Was he a formidable figure from outside Zhongcheng? Mr. Qin, let me compensate you with a better vehicle, Ning Rushuan said, her tone tinged with helplessness. Xin Fan understood, despite the reprimand, that the Honda Fit was most likely beyond repair. Ning Rushuan, please bring the car over, Xin Fan requested. As Ning Rushuan departed to retrieve the car, Xin Fan surveyed the wreckage of the Fit, feeling a sense of resignation. I warned you earlier. It serves you right, the staff member remarked, mischief dancing in his eyes. Xin Fan sighed as he pondered how to explain the situation to Lin Qingyan. This car had seen better days. It's just a few tens of thousands, nothing to be too upset about. Others wouldn't even bat an eye if their Maserati was damaged, considering it's worth millions. Before he could finish, a limited edition Lamborghini pulled up, and Ning Rushuan emerged. Miss Ning, the staff member greeted enthusiastically, but Ning Rushuan paid him no heed. Instead, she walked over to Xin Fan and handed him the keys. Mr. Xin, please take your time. With a nod of thanks, Xin Fan boarded the car and drove away, leaving the staff member dumbfounded by the unexpected turn of events. Chapter 45, Old Acquaintances. Miss Ning. The staff looked at Ning Rushuan, their voice slightly trembling. It's either a luxury car or a big shot. I've emphasized before not to judge people by their appearance. Ning Rushuan stared at the staff with a cold expression. I. The staff stuttered, unable to speak. Just now, he saw Ning Rushuan handing something to Xin Fan, and he even respectfully said, "Take care." She was Ning Rushuan, the mistress of Qianhuan, showing such respect to someone. Who could that person be just now? What does every luxury car here have to do with you? What qualifications do you have to look down on others? Ning Rushuan continued. Miss Ning, I really didn't know, please spare me. The staff knelt down, begging Ning Rushuan for mercy. Remember, appearances can be deceiving. Ning Rushuan said coldly. Then, she took out her phone and contacted the best repair shop in Jiangcheng, determined to restore the damaged car to its original condition, no matter the cost. Xin Fan drove his limited edition Lamborghini towards Lin Qingyan's villa, pondering how to explain to her that her Fit had broken down and had been replaced with a limited edition Lamborghini. However, just as he was contemplating, his phone rang. Xin Fan glanced at it. It was Xiang Shui, so he answered the call. Xin brother, do you have time? I want to talk about the treatment. Xiang Shui's timid voice came through the phone. Sure. Xin Fan agreed immediately. Everyone wants to live, and Xiang Shui, being only 20, would surely grasp at any hope of survival. Are you still at the Jiangtian Hotel? Xin Fan asked. I'm back at school now, at Jiangcheng University. I can come to you. Xiang Shui spoke up. No need, I'll come to you, it's more convenient, just give me your location. Xin Fan said. After their conversation, Xiang Shui sent her location to Xin Fan. Xin Fan stepped on the accelerator, speeding towards Jiangcheng University. About half an hour later, Xin Fan arrived near Jiangcheng University. There were no parking spots nearby, and since he was just picking up Xiang Shui and leaving, Xin Fan casually parked the car at the school gate and got out. At the gate, he didn't see Xiang Shui, so he took out his phone and sent her a WeChat message, informing her of his arrival. Xin brother, please wait a moment, I'll come out after talking to my teacher. Xiang Shui immediately replied. All right. Xin Fan sent a message back, then put away his phone and waited outside the gate. At this moment, a black Land Rover suddenly stopped, and a man got out of the car. The man appeared to be around 26 or 27 years old, wearing a suit and gold-rimmed glasses, exuding the aura of a successful businessman. After getting out of the car, he stood beside Qin Fan, lit a cigarette, and seemed to be waiting for someone. After a while, he noticed Qin Fan and stared at him for a long time before suddenly speaking, "Are you Qin Fan?" Qin Fan looked at him upon being addressed, while trying to recall any information about the man in his mind. Unfortunately, he couldn't remember anything. "Do you know me?" Qin Fan asked tentatively. "I just had a feeling, and it turns out you really are Qin Fan." The man spoke up upon hearing Qin Fan's question. "Who are you?" Qin Fan was quite curious about the man's identity. "I'm Song Yi." The man introduced himself. Upon hearing this name, Qin Fan searched his memory for information about him. Finally, he remembered that they had lived in the same orphanage. There were about 12 people of similar age in their batch. However, Qin Fan was adopted at the age of 9 and hadn't seen these people since then. It had been 16 years now, and those people from the orphanage must have changed a lot. So no matter how hard Qin Fan searched his memory, he couldn't remember who Song Yi was until he heard his name. However, it was quite surprising that Song Yi could recognize him after all these years. "I didn't expect you to be back in Jiangcheng. You were adopted and left Jiangcheng, right?" Song Yi smiled and spoke. "Yes, I went to Huahai City, and I went to university in Huahai. After graduation, I returned to Jiangcheng." Qin Fan replied truthfully. "How have you been these years? We've never been able to contact you. Several times when we had gatherings, we wanted to contact you, but unfortunately, we couldn't reach you. You came back to Jiangcheng and didn't contact us either." Song Yi approached Qin Fan, looked him up and down, and saw that he was dressed quite plainly, making him smile even more. Qin Fan had always been good-looking since childhood, so he was quite popular in the orphanage back then. The woman who adopted Qin Fan had to choose between Qin Fan and Song Yi, and she ultimately chose Qin Fan because she thought he was handsome. This had always made Song Yi resentful, which was why he could still recognize Qin Fan after 16 years. Feeling Song Yi's teasing smile, Qin Fan spoke, "My foster mother passed away 5 years ago, and I haven't been doing well. I'm just working as an intern doctor at Zhenghe Hospital now. I can tell. Otherwise, you wouldn't have come back to Jiangcheng without contacting us." Song Yi teased, patting Qin Fan on the shoulder as if he were an elder brother. "If you're not doing well, you can find me. I've opened a company now, and I can arrange some work for you, like security or janitorial work. It's definitely better than being an intern doctor, at least you can support yourself." Song Yi offered to Qin Fan. "Thank you, but I don't need it." Qin Fan politely refused. It was clear that Song Yi was intentionally showing off to him, and Qin Fan certainly didn't care. After 16 years, the batch of orphans had all established their own lives and careers, so it was normal for them to boast to each other. Moreover, the most important thing was that Qin Fan was not the same person he used to be, so why would he care? "Qin Fan, the economy hasn't been doing well recently. An intern doctor like you probably can't even make ends meet. I suggest you come to my company. I'm saying this because we used to be companions. Otherwise, I wouldn't bother." Song Yi continued warmly, although his words sounded a bit ambiguous. Qin Fan felt a bit annoyed and changed the subject. "Why are you here?" "I'm waiting for my woman." Song Yi smiled and spoke, "How about you?" "I'm also waiting for someone." Qin Fan replied. Just then, a charming voice came from behind. "Ego, who are you talking to?" Hearing this voice, Qin Fan, Song Yi, and the others immediately turned to look, only to see a slender figure standing there. The woman looked to be around 20 or 21 years old, wearing a sexy short skirt, heavy makeup, and with a voluptuous figure. Her presence exuded a fragrance. Without a doubt, she was Song Yi's woman, and she was quite a stunner. "Zishan, come here. Let me introduce you. This is my friend, Qin Fan." Song Yi pulled the charming woman over and introduced her to Qin Fan, then turned to Qin Fan and said, "This is my girlfriend, Lu Zishan. Isn't she beautiful?" "Hello, I'm Qin Fan." Qin Fan politely greeted. "Darling, what's the use of friends like him? Why is he dressed so shabbily?" Lu Zishan glanced at Qin Fan disdainfully. "He's an intern doctor, not doing well. I was just thinking of introducing him to a job, but he's not appreciative. Insists on being an intern doctor." Song Yi teased from the side, "Darling, I've told you before, having friends like him is useless to you. You should get to know people from the upper class, they're the ones who matter. Lu Zishan spoke after learning of Qin Fan's background. Lu Zishan was a materialistic woman who believed in socializing with the wealthy and powerful. People like Qin Fan, who obviously had no use to her, didn't need to be acquainted with. Qin Fan, my girlfriend is straightforward. Don't mind her. But she's not wrong. That's how society works. So, don't be stubborn. Come to my company, I'll arrange a security job for you. Isn't that good? 4,000 a month, and if you perform well, there's a bonus. Song Yi smiled, seemingly joking but with a hint of seriousness. No need, thanks. Qin Fan refused again. If you go on like this, you won't be able to make ends meet. You won't even be able to find a girlfriend later on. As your former big brother, I'm telling you this out of concern. Song Yi then said. Brother Yi, you're wrong. Get someone as beautiful and outstanding as me who we definitely won't be able to find. Lu Zishan chimed in sarcastically. Ah. Upon hearing Lu Zishan's words, Xiang Shui was stunned, looking somewhat at a loss. Moreover, I don't think her eyesight is good either. Look at the boyfriend she chose, so tasteless and tacky. Lu Zishan continued with a sharp tongue. Zishan is right. You should find someone like me. You need to be rich. Song Yi, seeing an opportunity to ridicule Qin Fan in front of a beauty like Xiang Shui, spoke up, and after speaking, he even took out his Land Rover keys and waved them, seemingly trying to attract Xiang Shui's attention. Whoever it is, don't park your car at the gate, hurry up and move it. Just as Song Yi took out his keys, the security guard suddenly spoke up. Darling, move the car quickly. Parking such a big car here and blocking the way is not good. Lu Zishan deliberately raised her voice, trying to provoke Qin Fan and Xiang Shui. I'm not talking about your 700,000 Land Rover, I'm talking about the limited edition Lamborghini at the gate. It's surrounded by so many people. No matter how expensive the car is, it shouldn't be parked at the gate. The school security guard shouted loudly. Hearing the guard's words, Song Yi and Lu Zishan immediately looked to the side, only to see an extremely cool Lamborghini parked there, surrounded by many people taking photos. My car, I'll leave now. Qin Fan immediately took out the Lamborghini keys, held Xiang Shui's hand, and walked to the car. Then, under the gaze of everyone, Qin Fan sat in the Lamborghini with Xiang Shui and drove away. Song Yi and Lu Zishan stood there, their faces dumbfounded, watching the disappearing Lamborghini. Darling, do you have his contact information? Hurry up and contact him. Lu Zishan came back to her senses, her eyes gleaming excitedly as she spoke to Song Yi. Song Yi's face turned as ugly as a pig's liver. Chapter 46, a case involving Miss Lin. First, Qin Fan purchased the necessary medicinal herbs, then he brought Xiang Shui to the Jiantian Hotel. This time, Xu Yan warmly received Qin Fan and arranged the presidential suite for him. Upon arriving at the presidential suite, Qin Fan immediately entered the bathroom, filled the bathtub with water, and added the medicinal herbs. Take off your clothes, he instructed. Xiang Shui blushed at the suggestion, her face betraying a mix of embarrassment and hesitation. Why are you shy? It's just like the last time, soaking in the herbal bath, Qin Fan chuckled, amused by Xiang Shui's coyness. He understood that the young girl had misunderstood his intentions. The herbal bath was meant to improve Xiang Shui's constitution. Currently, she was too frail for cultivation. Her constitution needed to be strengthened before Qin Fan could teach her the art of cultivation. So, Qin brother, will you be staying nearby? Xiang Shui hesitantly inquired. Of course, I need to help you absorb the medicinal properties, Qin Fan replied. But... Xiang Shui hesitated to speak further. Qin Fan then exited the bathroom and stated, call me when you're ready. Shortly after, the sounds of splashing water echoed from the bathroom, followed by Xiang Shui's voice, Qin brother, I feel better now. Hearing her voice, Qin Fan pushed open the door and entered. The bathroom was filled with steam, yet Xiang Shui, submerged in the water, was shivering. Still feeling cold? Qin Fan inquired upon seeing Xiang Shui's condition. Yes, it's always been like this since childhood. Even at temperatures of 50 or 60 degrees, I still feel cold. But anything higher would scald me, Xiang Shui explained. Qin Fan extended his hand into the herbal mixture, channeling his mana to aid Xiang Shui's treatment. It feels so warm, Xiang Shui exclaimed as a comforting warmth enveloped her, her complexion gradually improving. However, the temperature of the herbal mixture quickly cooled, causing the entire bathroom to chill. Sensing the change, Xin Fan pondered, the Taiyin spirit body is indeed unique, its nature elusive. It seems a mere herbal bath won't suffice, additional measures are necessary. With that in mind, Xin Fan tossed more herbs into the water and adjusted the temperature using his abilities, ensuring the herbal mixture and environment reached an optimal state. Ah! Xiang Shui couldn't help but let out a slightly embarrassed sound as she experienced immense comfort. She quickly covered her mouth in embarrassment. Xin Fan chuckled at the sight and then moved behind Xiang Shui, placing his hand on her back to assist her in absorbing the medicinal properties. Under Xin Fan's care, Xiang Shui's complexion improved further, and she felt incredibly comfortable throughout her body. An hour later, Xiang Shui fell into a peaceful sleep. Xin Fan sighed and carefully lifted her out of the bathtub, drying her off and dressing her in a robe before laying her on the bed. A simple herbal bath won't suffice, we need pills, magical instruments, and even formations. The Taiyin spirit body is truly unique, but if successful, the benefits will be considerable, Xin Fan mused as he pondered how to deal with this unique constitution. Let's try magical instruments first. I'll need to refine them myself, but it's challenging to find suitable materials on Earth. After much contemplation, Xin Fan made a decision: he would start with magical instruments. Xin Fan once had plenty of pills and magical instruments, but due to being pursued by several nascent soul stage cultivators, he had exhausted most of his resources, even losing his storage bag. Therefore, he had to start anew and refine everything himself. Let's start with jade artifacts. The materials are relatively easy to find. We can try our luck with gambling stones and perhaps take Xiang Shui along. Xin Fan made up his mind and began meditating on the side, keeping an eye on Xiang Shui. He had promised to help her, and she needed to be prepared. If anything went wrong with the Taiyin spirit body, it would be troublesome. Unbeknownst to him, night had already fallen. Xiang Shui woke up to find Xin Fan sitting nearby, blushing as she spoke. Xin brother, I fell asleep just now. Opening his eyes, Xin Fan responded, that's a good sign, indicating the treatment is effective. Yes, it's the most comfortable sleep I've ever had, so warm. Thank you, Xin brother, Xiang Shui said with a sweet smile. I'm just helping you adjust for now, not a complete cure. But if you follow my instructions, you can live a normal life, Xin Fan reassured her. The Taiyin spirit body wasn't an illness but a unique constitution. To truly cure it, Xiang Shui would need to cultivate, but it was too early for that, and she wouldn't understand even if Xin Fan explained. Therefore, Xin Fan decided not to broach the subject for now. I'll follow all your instructions, Xin brother, Xiang Shui nodded. In that case, I'll see you every 3 days, Xin Fan proposed. Xiang Shui hesitated for a moment, understanding that seeing meant treatment. The wording sounded odd, but she still nodded in agreement, saying, okay. Let me take you home first, Xin Fan said to Xiang Shui. Okay, she replied. Shortly after, Xin Fan escorted Xiang Shui home and then returned to Lin Xingyan's villa. Lin Xingyan had already returned and was reclining on the sofa, her graceful curves on full display, seemingly trying to seduce Xin Fan. However, Xin Fan paid her no attention, walking to the table and waiting for dinner. Seeing Xin Fan's indifference, Lin Xingyan felt her scheme had failed and reluctantly got up. Just then, the doorbell rang. I hope it's not Su Shoujian again, Lin Xingyan muttered irritably upon hearing the bell. With all three present, a visit at this hour was likely from the bothersome Su Shoujian. However, Wang Auntie promptly went to answer the door. Opening it, she was surprised to see 2 uniformed law enforcement officers. Ma'am, is this Miss Lin Xingyan's residence? The male officer inquired. Perplexed, Wang Auntie asked, yes, are you looking for Miss Lin? We're from the Public Security Bureau. Here are our credentials. There's a case that may involve Miss Lin, so we've come to inquire. May we enter? The polite male officer explained, presenting their credentials. Although addressing Wang Auntie, his gaze drifted to Lin Xingyan and Xin Fan inside the house. Chapter 47, Lack of Evidence. Upon their entrance, their gaze swiftly locked onto Xin Fan, who was sitting at the table eating. Miss Lin, who is this gentleman? Lang Lang inquired, feigning ignorance. Lin Xingyan looked at Xin Fan, hesitated for a moment, and then spoke, he is my boyfriend, Xin Fan. Isn't he the one who injured Jiang Wenbin? Zhu Kei interjected. Upon hearing this, Xin Fan set down his chopsticks and immediately responded, that was an act of self-defense. He was accompanied by several bodyguards. If it weren't for my ability to fight back, the one injured might have been me. Lin Qingyan, upon hearing Qin Fan's words, looked at him with surprise. Though she had heard from the kidnappers that Qin Fan had injured Jiang Wenbin, hearing it directly from him was still astonishing. Qin Fan had actually managed to defeat those bodyguards and injure Jiang Wenbin. It seemed he was quite skilled in combat. "Miss Lin, how much do you know about your boyfriend?" Lang Lang asked Qin Fan, his gaze fixed upon him. "This is my private affair. Why are you asking about it?" Lin Qingyan replied coldly, her face stern. "Very well, then I'll ask your boyfriend," Zhu Ke interjected, producing a photograph and showing it to Qin Fan. "Mr. Qin, do you recognize this car?" "A Bentley, worth over 3 million, Lin Qingyan immediately remarked upon seeing the photo. "Isn't this the car I borrowed from Ning Rushuan that night?" Qin Fan responded promptly. "Borrowed?" Lin Qingyan's eyes widened in astonishment. "Yes, that night, after I treated Ning Rushuan's sister at the hospital, I received your call. Unable to come over immediately, I borrowed this car from Ning Rushuan. Upon hearing it was for rescuing someone, she kindly lent it to me and even reported to the Public Security Bureau. She's truly a good person," Qin Fan explained. Lin Qingyan was shocked. A 3 million car borrowed casually? And calling Ning Rushuan a good person? In Jiangchun, who didn't know Ning Rushuan's title as the Phoenix Queen? She was the big sister of the underground, hardly someone to be called good. Moreover, how did Qin Fan know Ning Rushuan? "So, Mr. Qin, you're a hero who rescued a beauty," Zhu Ke remarked with a smile. "I didn't kill those people. They were already dead when I arrived. I reported the incident to the Public Security Bureau long ago," Qin Fan replied calmly. "We've reviewed a large amount of surveillance footage, examined the driving videos of this car, and had forensic experts calculate the time of death of those people. It's inferred that when you arrived, they were still alive," Lang Lang said, looking at Qin Fan as he spoke. "It's just an inference. Without evidence, it can't be proven that Qin Fan killed them." Lin Qingyan realized the seriousness of the situation and spoke up immediately. "Miss Lin, don't get agitated. Even if Mr. Qin did kill them, it was in self-defense. We just want to understand Mr. Qin. What does he do? Why does he have the ability to kill those people?" Zhu Ke quickly added. "If you have evidence, I'll naturally acknowledge it. But you're just probing clearly, you have no evidence. What am I supposed to say?" Qin Fan spoke calmly. Lang Lang and Zhu Ke fell silent upon hearing his words. Every inference ultimately pointed to Qin Fan as the killer. But, unfortunately, there was no evidence. There wasn't even a single hair or fingerprint left at the scene. This shocked Lang Lang and Zhu Ke. Because when this person killed, he deliberately erased all traces. What confidence and terrifying strength. 2. If there's no evidence, please don't accuse my boyfriend. If there's anything, I'll contact a lawyer, Lin Qingyan intervened. Lang Lang and Zhu Ke fell silent at her words. If there's nothing else, please leave, Lin Qingyan took the opportunity to speak. Lang Lang and Zhu Ke received Lin Qingyan's dismissal and stood up, preparing to leave. However, before leaving, Zhu Ke spoke to Lin Qingyan. "Miss Lin, your boyfriend is not as simple as he appears on the surface." "Miss, I know my boyfriend well enough. Besides, he's not ordinary. Shouldn't I be even happier?" Lin Qingyan smiled and responded. Seeing Lin Qingyan's response, Zhu Ke realized it was futile to say more and left with Lang Lang. "Oh dear, was the kidnapping incident that serious? Why didn't you tell me, miss?" Wang Auntie couldn't help but feel sorry as she saw the two leave. "Because I didn't want you to worry," Lin Qingyan smiled. She had only briefly mentioned the day's events when she returned, not mentioning the danger. Now, Wang Auntie knew the details. "Thanks to Xiaofan, it's fate that Miss and Xiaofan are together," Wang Auntie continued, trying to matchmake Qin Fan and Lin Qingyan. Lin Qingyan then glanced at Qin Fan and asked, "Did you not encounter any trouble?" "No, nothing," Qin Fan replied. Qin Fan looked at Wang Auntie and thought she was really good at pretending. That night, in fact, Wang Auntie could have saved Lin Qingyan as well. Wang Auntie was the strongest martial artist Qin Fan had encountered in Jiangqing so far, even stronger than Tang Jili, who was hired by the Jiang family, but for some reason, Wang Auntie chose to be Lin Qingyan's nanny. That's good, Wang Auntie smiled kindly at Qin Fan. "Xiaofan, these dishes have gone cold. Let me heat them up for you. Thank you, Auntie Wang. Qin Fan smiled and replied warmly. Chapter 48, The Auction. Outside Mirror Lake Manor, Vermilion Phoenix and Azure Wolf settled into a sleek black SUV. As they entered the vehicle, they immediately shed their roles as law enforcers. Both were operatives of the Kunlun Special Forces, their identities highly sensitive and concealed beneath the guise of law enforcement. Have we obtained any information? A deep, resonant voice spoke up as soon as they settled in. Boss, we've got nothing. Vermilion Phoenix turned to the passenger seat, addressing their squad leader, codenamed Yuan. Azure Wolf, what's your assessment of this Qin Fan's strength? Yuan inquired. Though Yuan held the rank of captain, within their unit, it was Azure Wolf who boasted the most formidable prowess, teetering on the cusp of Grandmaster status. Azure Wolf fell silent, seemingly gathering his thoughts. After a moment, he spoke. It's difficult to say. He lacks the aura and chi of a martial artist, appearing utterly ordinary. Yet, in his presence, there's an unmistakable sense of peculiarity, even danger. Indeed, I share the same sentiment. Despite his outward normalcy, he exudes an air of extraordinary resilience. Our interrogations, even elaborate traps, seem to slide off him effortlessly, akin to punching into cotton, futile in every attempt. Vermilion Phoenix chimed in. I believe he may have anticipated our pursuit, hence his readiness, the burly figure in the driver's seat interjected. This man, codenamed Pichio, ranked just below Azure Wolf in combat prowess. Your words ring true. It's no wonder the lad acts with such audacity. Azure Wolf exclaimed, now fully attentive. This is sheer disdain towards us. Vermilion Phoenix seethed. He clearly doesn't care about our pursuit. He's likely aware that lacking decisive evidence, we're powerless to act. It's infuriating, Azure Wolf added with frustration. This Qin Fan is truly formidable. Right from the outset, he understood our inability to produce crucial evidence, thereby rendering us impotent to act. He must have anticipated this scenario. Yuan's expression darkened slightly as he spoke. This lad is excessively arrogant. Captain, aren't we going to apprehend him? Azure Wolf interjected once more. Apprehend? How do we apprehend someone without evidence? Yuan retorted. The others fell into silence, feeling thoroughly outmaneuvered by Qin Fan. They were members of Kunlun, a special force unit of Xia Nation, each elite in their own right. Yet, they found themselves toyed with by a single individual, a source of deep frustration. Captain, are we just going to watch? Vermilion Phoenix voiced her discontent. Have we uncovered any more about Qin Fan's background? Yuan inquired again. None whatsoever. His background is squeaky clean. Raised in an orphanage, adopted and taken to Huahai City after his foster mother's demise. He worked his way through university, graduated from Jiangcheng Medical College, then returned to Jiangcheng, Pichio reported. However, I believe his return to Jiangcheng wasn't solely prompted by Zhao Xuanxuang. He likely sought to uncover his own origins, Pichio continued, detailing Qin Fan's background, which appeared utterly ordinary in every aspect. What about the cliff incident? Have we investigated? Yuan queried. We have. I personally inspected the site of his fall, but found nothing. It's incredible luck for him to return unscathed, Pichio replied. As you said, ordinary yet extraordinary in every aspect, Yuan remarked with a wry smile after hearing all this. So, Captain, what's our course of action? Are we just going to watch Qin Fan? Vermilion Phoenix persisted. We'll continue our investigation of Qin Fan, and keep a close eye on that overseas faction, Huaishanmen. Yuan declared. Why has Huaishanmen come to Jiangcheng? More and more of them are arriving, yet there's no sign of activity. Could they truly be here merely for leisure? Vermilion Phoenix asked, puzzled. The reason for Yuan's team's presence in Jiangcheng was the appearance of the overseas B-grade organization, Huaishanmen. Upon investigating, they discovered the demise of the entire Saturday faction, leading them to Qin Fan. Huaishanmen is currently showing no signs of aggression. We've been instructed to monitor them closely, Yuan stated. But, Captain, with us focusing on Qin Fan and having to watch out for Huaishanmen, the four of us might not be enough, Pichio pointed out. Don't worry. The mission in Annan has concluded, and reinforcements will arrive soon, Yuan reassured. Excellent. It's been a while since our team has operated together on a mission. Vermilion Phoenix exclaimed with newfound confidence. On Xinfan's side, he paid little heed to Azure Wolf and his cohorts, despite sensing their true identities as more than mere law enforcers. Their origins were of no concern to him. His current focus lay in comprehending the Tao and condensing his malevolent aura. Throughout the night, he dedicated himself to this endeavor, yet failed to achieve the same level of success as before. Quite troublesome, Xinfan sighed in resignation after concluding his efforts. However, he remained unperturbed. The path of cultivation was inherently lengthy. Stagnant progress for years, even decades or centuries, was not uncommon. Cultivators enjoyed extended lifespans. Xinfan, currently at the nascent soul stage, had a lifespan of at least 1,500 years, thus, he harbored no impatience. Only a few days had passed since his transition from mortal to cultivator. Expecting to swiftly progress to the mid-stage of nascent soul was unrealistic. Partial success in condensing malevolent aura was already commendable. Having completed his nocturnal cultivation, Xinfan stretched his body before stepping out of his room. Lin Xingyan had already left for work, leaving breakfast prepared by Wang Anti, whose culinary skills were impeccable. Xinfan had grown accustomed to life in Lin Xingyan's home. While he dined, his phone rang. Glancing at the screen, he saw it was from Jiang Qingning, prompting him to answer. "Mr. Qin, do you have a moment?" Jiang Qingning's voice came through upon answering. "I do. What's the matter?" Xinfan inquired. "I have something you might find interesting," Jiang Qingning replied. Considering for a moment, Xinfan responded, "Very well, where are you?" "I'm outside your villa," Jiang Qingning promptly answered. "I'll be right there," Xinfan acknowledged before ending the call and leaving the villa. Outside, Xinfan spotted a Porsche, beside which stood a tall, stunning woman, Jiang Qingning. Upon seeing Xinfan approach, Jiang Qingning greeted him with a radiant smile, handing him an exquisite brochure. "Mr. Qin, take a look." Accepting the brochure, Xinfan glanced over it before speaking. "An auction?" Chapter 49, The Sunstone. "An auction?" Xinfan glanced at the brochure, his expression filled with surprise. The brochure detailed an auction, along with the items up for bidding. "This isn't your ordinary auction, it's specifically tailored for ancient martial practitioners, hosted by Heavenly Treasure Pavilion," Jiang Qingning explained promptly. "Heavenly Treasure Pavilion?" Xinfan queried with some puzzlement. "Mr. Qin, you've heard of the mystical sect before, haven't you?" Jiang Qingning asked. "The organization that ranks individuals on the three boards of heaven, earth, and man? Is Heavenly Treasure Pavilion affiliated with them?" Xinfan inquired. "Heavenly Treasure Pavilion isn't directly linked to the mystical sect, but they do have a similar secretive organization known as the Celestial Hall. They possess a global network, collecting various peculiar items from around the world, especially those beneficial for ancient martial cultivation," Jiang Qingning elaborated. "Hence, the auction hosted by Heavenly Treasure Pavilion has quite a high threshold. In medium-sized cities like Jiangcheng, it only occurs every 3 to 4 years. Moreover, only prominent families and martial sects receive invitations. My grandfather procured many life-extending elixirs and miraculous medicines from Heavenly Treasure Pavilion. Those 3 silver leaf fairy orchids were purchased at one of their auctions." Jiang Qingning provided detailed insights into Heavenly Treasure Pavilion. Xinfan listened with a hint of disdain. To him, silver leaf fairy orchids were akin to roadside weeds, yet here they were treated as treasures. He couldn't help but feel skeptical about this Heavenly Treasure Pavilion's auction. However, as he continued flipping through the catalog of items, his eyes suddenly lit up. "This stone is also up for auction?" Xinfan pointed to a pale yellow stone depicted in the brochure. "Yes, but this stone's origins seem obscure, and no one knows its utility. It appears to be of no use to ancient martial cultivation," Jiang Qingning replied, looking at the page Xinfan indicated. "You know nothing about this. Won't attending the auction be akin to being fleeced?" Xinfan chuckled. Jiang Qingning paused for a moment, then spoke. "Could this stone be a treasure?" "This stone is the Sunstone," Xinfan declared. "The Sunstone?" Jiang Qingning looked puzzled. "You're unaware." "In any case, I'm determined to acquire this stone," Xinfan asserted. Xinfan discerned at a glance that this stone was an exceedingly rare sunstone. The sunstone was a special material born from the absorption of solar energy over the years. This stone, particularly useful for Xiang Shui, could neutralize the frigidine energy of her Taiyin spiritual body. Once refined into a magical instrument for Xiang Shui to carry, it would assist her in improving her physique. Previously, he had worried about finding suitable materials for refining, but now, encountering this one, he naturally had to obtain it. Since Mr. Xin is interested, I'll come to pick you up tomorrow, Jiang Qingning said with a radiant smile. Very well, Qin Fan agreed. With that, the two bid farewell, and Qin Fan returned to Lin Xingyan's villa. Xiao Fan, do you know that Miss Jian? Wang Anti asked as Qin Fan entered. She had noticed Qin Fan speaking with Jiang Qingning not far away earlier but hadn't approached, simply observing from the second floor of the villa, unaware of their conversation. I do, she's a friend, Qin Fan replied briefly. Afterwards, Qin Fan headed upstairs. He didn't plan to go out today, so he naturally intended to continue condensing malevolent aura. Returning to his room, he released the Chaos Pearl and continued the process. Time passed unnoticed, and it was already past 6 in the evening. Xiao Fan. Suddenly, Wang Anti's voice came from outside the door. Qin Fan immediately ceased condensing aura, opened the door, and saw Wang Anti standing anxiously outside. What's the matter, Auntie? Is something wrong? Qin Fan asked. I just tried to contact Miss, but couldn't reach her. Didn't we hear she was kidnapped before? I'm worried, so could you try contacting her? Wang Anti spoke. Qin Fan looked at Wang Anti with a strange expression. If you couldn't reach her, why do you think I could? I'll give her a call. Nonetheless, Qin Fan took out his phone and dialed Lin Xingyan's number. Is something the matter? Qin Fan's call connected immediately, and Lin Xingyan's sweet voice came through. Qin Fan heard this voice and glanced at Wang Anti, feeling somewhat odd. Wang Anti shrugged, indicating that she indeed couldn't get through just now, but it worked when you called. Lin Xingyan, Auntie couldn't reach you earlier, so she asked me to contact you. It seems you're alright now, Qin Fan explained. Auntie? Lin Xingyan paused for a moment upon hearing Qin Fan's words, then continued, Tonight, I have a business meeting at Empire Tower. I might not be back for dinner. I'll let Auntie know, Qin Fan replied, then hung up the phone and relayed Lin Xingyan's message to Wang Anti. Xiao Fan, I'm still worried. Would you mind going to pick up Miss? Wang Anti looked at Qin Fan, her worry evident. Qin Fan looked at Wang Anti, understanding what she was trying to do. She wanted to play matchmaker between him and Lin Xingyan. Perhaps Wang Anti had already noticed that their relationship was somewhat peculiar, not quite like that of a genuine couple. All right. Qin Fan finally agreed. Subsequently, Qin Fan left the villa, took a detour, and boarded the Lamborghini parked in a distant location. The reason for parking here was to avoid being seen by Lin Xingyan. Explaining would be troublesome again. Thus, until the flying leopard was repaired, Qin Fan could only resort to this method. Starting the car, he took out his phone and activated the navigation. As it was rush hour for commuting and dinner, Empire Tower was located in the downtown area. Therefore, Qin Fan chose a more remote and circuitous route to avoid the rush hour, saving about half an hour. Following the navigation's instructions, Qin Fan drove for about 20 minutes and arrived in an underdeveloped area of Jianchang. Here, there were rows of abandoned residential complexes and many unfinished villas, and the road conditions were not very good, so this area was unlikely to have any traffic. Screech! As Qin Fan drove through a deserted villa area, he suddenly slammed on the brakes, stopping the car, because several cars ahead blocked his way. Among them, an Audi's front was not only smashed, but also bore numerous bullet and knife marks, with many shattered windows. What's going on? Qin Fan looked at the cars blocking the road with a speechless expression. There's no one here directly controlling the cars to fly over. Saying that, Qin Fan prepared to directly use his divine ability to fly over with both himself and the car. Ah! At this moment, a scream suddenly came from not far away. Hearing this sound, Qin Fan stopped and immediately swept his divine consciousness towards the source. Where the sound came from, Qin Fan saw several people, one of whom was surprisingly Chao Hu, someone he had some acquaintance with. Chapter 50, returning for revenge. Upon seeing Chao Hu lying on the ground, Qin Fan observed the towering figure, now tattered and bloodied, with a ghastly wound adorning his head. Chao Hu lay on the ground like a dying beast, his eyes filled with despair, his mouth filled with mud and grass, occasionally emitting painful gasps. Apart from Chao Hu, Qin Fan also spotted Ah Biao lying motionless, covered in blood, his fate uncertain. Surrounding Chao Hu were 3 men and 2 women, brandishing firearms and pointing them at the dying man. Observing this scene through his divine sense, Qin Fan swiftly disembarked from his vehicle and approached the group surrounding Chao Hu. As Qin Fan drew near, a woman with a certain grace lifted her gun and aimed it at Xiao Hu's head, a smug smile playing on her lips, signaling her disdain for him. Xiao Hu, you still run as swiftly as ever 10 years ago, you chased us for tens of kilometers. Now, we've chased you for just as far, the woman taunted. Yet, you still haven't agreed to let us kill Ning Rushuan. How could we possibly let you escape, she continued, squatting down with a gun pointed at Xiao Hu's head, her words laced with amusement. Meanwhile, as she spoke, one of her companions produced a glass bottle containing a small black insect, wriggling disgustingly inside, a sight both repulsive and horrifying. Feel free to kill me, but I'll never betray Miss Ning, Xiao Hu retorted coldly. You're indeed loyal, like a faithful dog, the woman chuckled. But, once this parasitic heartworm enters your body, within a minute, you'll be begging for mercy. Hearing this, Xiao Hu's expression changed drastically as he stared at the sinister creature. Clearly, he recognized its nature. You're still as despicable as ever, he exclaimed. As long as it ensures Ning Rushuan's demise, these means are trivial, the woman retorted coldly. It was the Zhang family who drove you away back then. Why seek revenge on Miss Ning? Xiao Hu interjected. The Zhang family? If it weren't for the Zhang family's full support back then, would Ning Rushuan, that little brat, have dared to target us 10 years ago? And how could you have accepted our industries, amassing billions in assets, and even being dubbed Mr. Tiger in Jiangcheng, the woman sneered. So, now that Mr. Zhou has returned, it's time to settle scores, she declared. It's been 10 years. Do you have any idea what we endured overseas during this time? If not for people like you, Mr. Zhou would have become the emperor of Jiangcheng long ago, or even made a name for himself among the aristocratic families in Xia country, she continued, venting her hatred towards Xiao Hu. Rubbish! That Zhou Dajiang could never become the emperor of Jiangcheng, let alone a noble in Xia country, even if given 100 years. We regretted not exterminating you all. Xiao Hu retorted furiously. You didn't eradicate us completely. You brought this upon yourselves, the woman sneered. However, don't worry too much. Ning Rushuan, Zhang Tianxiong, and all those involved in what happened 10 years ago will die. Impossible. Suddenly, Xiao Hu grabbed a sharp stone and thrust it towards his neck fiercely. However, the woman's reaction was quicker. She kicked the stone out of his hand. You want to die? Dream on. I'll make you wish for death, she exclaimed. With that, she took the glass bottle and attempted to force the insect into Xiao Hu's mouth. Stop. At that moment, Qin Fan, who had approached, spoke up. He typically avoided interfering in such matters, but since this seemed to involve the Zhang family, he felt compelled to act. Who are you? The woman demanded, turning her gaze towards Qin Fan as she spoke. The other 4 individuals spread out, blocking Qin Fan's path and preparing to silence him permanently. Mr. Qin. Xiao Hu, upon seeing Qin Fan's surprised expression, was puzzled. He didn't understand why Qin Fan was here. Mr. Qin, quickly escape. Inform Miss Ning that Zhou Dajiang has returned. He knew Qin Fan's skills were formidable, but now his top fighters were under the control of these people. Even if Qin Fan was powerful, he wouldn't stand a chance against them. According to Xiao Hu, you're also one of Ning Rushuan's people, the woman said, sneering. Perfect, let's kill you together and present your death to Ning Rushuan. As she finished speaking, the other 4 advanced towards Qin Fan. Qin Fan glanced at the woman, then raised his hand and pointed into the air. Put! A sound rang out as a hole appeared in the woman's forehead. She collapsed lifelessly, eyes wide with disbelief, never understanding how she met her and the other 4, their faces pale, turned menacingly towards Qin Fan. You, who are you? How dare you kill a member of the Hua Tianmen, one of them snarled. Hua Tianmen won't let this go. However, before the 4 could finish their threats, Qin Fan drew his sword with a flick of his finger. Pft, 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 pft. After 4 more sounds, the heads of these individuals flew into the air, then fell to the ground, leaving them headless corpses. Without even sparing them a glance, Qin Fan walked over to Xiao Hu and Biao, then infused them with a stream of energy. Xiao Hu stared in disbelief at everything that had just transpired. He knew Qin Fan was formidable, but the ease with which he dispatched those people was beyond belief. Those 5 individuals just now were incredibly powerful. They were Mr. Zhou's trusted aides, and one of them was even a killer renowned on the Shinmen ranking list. Yet, Qin Fan dispatched them with such ease. Dumbfounded, Xiao Wu struggled to comprehend the events unfolding before him. What kind of divine technique was this? Mr. Tiger, what happened? What about those people? Biao, who had regained consciousness on the side, asked bewilderedly. Quickly, thank Mr. Qin. He saved us, Xiao Wu hastily replied. Upon hearing this, Biao looked towards Qin Fan and then climbed to his feet, expressing gratitude to him. Mr. Qin, if there's ever a need for my assistance, just say the word. Xiao Wu also got up and addressed Qin Fan. Enough, Qin Fan waved his hand, signaling them to stop the unnecessary talk. Now, do you plan to return on your own or accompany me? Accompany Mr. Qin, Xiao Wu hastily replied. Tonight's sudden attack had left him worried about potential further mishaps if he returned alone. Very well, let's go. I need to pick up my girlfriend at Empire Tower. Would you like to join us? Qin Fan inquired. Empire Tower? Perfect, I need to go there. Chapter 51, Grudges from 10 years ago. As Qin Fan drove, he casually inquired, what happened tonight? Who are those people, seemingly capable of employing some extraordinary means? Naturally, Qin Fan had noticed that bug, it was a form of sorcery. Though he was familiar with such arts, the woman's sorcery appeared crude in his eyes, a world apart from the true cultivation practices of the Qingxian star domain. However, on Earth, it was certainly impressive. It's a long story, all stemming from grudges 10 years ago, sighed Xiao Wu, before recounting the events. 15 years ago, with the rise of Xia country's power, Jiangcheng also saw rapid development. During that period, a man named Zhou Dajiang returned from overseas to Jiangcheng. Zhou Dajiang was highly skilled, well-traveled, wealthy, and had many experts under his command. Upon arriving in Jiangcheng, he aligned himself with various factions and swiftly established a solid foothold. At that time, his investments greatly contributed to Jiangcheng's development, leading the people to believe he was a true patriot and benefactor. However, after firmly establishing himself, his true ambitions surfaced, and he began acting wantonly. He employed various means to seize industries by force, even developing illegal activities underground. Meanwhile, he spared no effort in bribing officials, eventually establishing a vast kingdom of drug production and trafficking in the underbelly of Jiangcheng within 5 years. During those 5 years, countless families in Jiangcheng were ruined, and both above and below ground, order collapsed, causing many of Jiangcheng's industries and companies to relocate. Zhang's family head, Zhang Tianxiong, and the former leader of Qianuan Hall, also known as Miss Ning's grandfather, witnessed this scene and could no longer tolerate it. Thus, they joined forces to eradicate the Zhou family. Overnight, the Zhou family went from being Jiangcheng's top clan to prisoners at the bottom. Thousands of Zhou's minions were captured or killed. As they pursued the mastermind Zhou Dajiang, he leaped into the river. Despite continuous searches for 6 months, he vanished without a trace, disappearing from then on. It's been a full 10 years, and the name Zhou Dajiang has long been forgotten by most people. Unexpectedly, he has returned alive to seek revenge on us. Xiao Hu disclosed everything from over a decade ago without concealment. Shouldn't you report this to the Public Security Bureau? Qin Fan interjected. These are matters of the martial world. Back then, Jiang Lao and the former hall master used martial methods. Now that Zhou Dajiang has come back for revenge, as long as it doesn't harm ordinary people, the Public Security Bureau will turn a blind eye, Xiao Wu sighed. A clandestine force like theirs couldn't just report to the Public Security Bureau and expect assistance. It would be like a thief calling for the capture of another thief. Moreover, with Zhou Dajiang's reappearance after 10 years, there must be powerful figures supporting him from behind. That's why he thrived in Jiangcheng in the first place, Xiao Hu continued. In that case, we might as well find him and deal with him, Qin Fan suggested upon hearing the reasons. Xiao Hu paused for a moment at Qin Fan's words, then chuckled, indeed, as Mr. Qin said, the best course of action is to find Zhou Dajiang and deal with him. Otherwise, letting him lurk in the shadows will only bring us endless troubles, making us sleepless at night. The accident involving Miss Ning and Miss Coco earlier, all orchestrated by Zhou Dajiang. And because Mr. Qin foiled Zhou Dajiang's scheme, he turned his attention to me, Xiao Hu continued. It seems being an ordinary person is truly not easy, Qin Fan sighed at the revelation. Xiao Hu paused, not quite understanding Qin Fan's implication, but still laughed heartily, Mr. Qin, as they say, one cannot escape their fate in the martial world. Qin Fan said nothing more, focusing on driving. Half an hour later, they arrived at the Emperor Hao Tower. The Emperor Hao Tower was one of Jiangqing's landmark buildings, encompassing dining, shopping, accommodation, and office spaces. Upon arrival, Chao Hu intended to arrange a place for Qin Fan to dine, but Qin Fan declined, mentioning meeting his girlfriend. Mr. Qin, how about giving me a chance to meet your sister-in-law? Chao Hu asked, looking at Qin Fan with flattery. No need, you go ahead, Qin Fan waved his hand. With no other option, Chao Hu took Biao into the elevator. Meanwhile, Qin Fan took out his phone and sent a WeChat message to Lin Xingyan. I'm at the Emperor Hao Tower. Where are you? I'm still discussing business. It might take some time, feel free to order something here, and I'll cover the bill later, Lin Xingyan replied promptly. Seeing the message, Qin Fan put away his phone and found a steakhouse inside the Emperor Hao Tower. After entering, he ordered a steak. As he was about to take a bite, he suddenly spotted familiar faces, Song Yi and Lu Zhishan. What a small world, Qin Fan muttered to himself upon seeing Song Yi, then resumed eating his steak. Song Yi entered with Lu Zhishan, not noticing Qin Fan. They found a table and began chatting and laughing while eating. Bang! When Qin Fan was halfway through his steak, the glass door was violently pushed open, and a group of arrogant men and women swaggered in. Instantly, all attention shifted to them. Instead of toning down, they became even more brazen and self-assured, drawing attention to themselves. Leading the group was a man in his 30s, exceptionally handsome but with a somewhat effeminate demeanor. With long hair, he would rival most women in beauty. However, his beautiful face bore an air of disdain, and his slender eyes sparkled with eerie light. With exaggerated gestures, the handsome young man and his entourage made their way to a large table. That's Zhang Jin, the young master of Jinkatang and the chairman of Tianqiao Pharmaceutical Group. Yes, it's him. He's truly handsome, and that skin. Grown up on all sorts of rare medicinal herbs since childhood, can he not be good-looking? Whispers and murmurs circulated around. After Zhang Jin entered, the waiters greeted him deferentially. Good evening, young Master Zhang. Ignoring them completely, Zhang Jin strode forward. However, halfway there, he stopped by Song Yi's table, his eyes fixed on Lu Zhishan's well-endowed figure, brimming with desire. This is Song Yi, isn't it? I've heard your company is doing quite well. Why don't you address me as young Master Zhang when you see me? Zhang Jin shifted his gaze towards Song Yi, his tone tinged with amusement. Are you trying to avoid seeing me? After sitting down, Zhang Jin continued to address Song Yi. No, how could that be, young Master Zhang? Song Yi replied, looking at Zhang Jin. Naturally, Qin Fan noticed what was happening on Song Yi's side. He was somewhat surprised. Given Song Yi's penchant for showing off, he would have immediately retaliated against such humiliation, especially in front of his girlfriend. But now, Song Yi showed no sign of retaliation. Instead, he seemed deferential and even fearful. I didn't notice you earlier, young Master Zhang, so I didn't greet you. Song Yi forced a smile, his reluctance and fear evident to anyone. Not noticed? Zhang Jin suddenly raised his voice. Are you blind? Then why keep those eyes? With a humiliating pat on Song Yi's face, Zhang Jin added, shall I just poke your eyes out? Please, young Master Zhang, I was just joking. Song Yi maintained a forced smile at this moment. Song Yi appeared as helpless as an orphan in an orphanage. Despite having a company worth several million, among this group, he seemed insignificant. Your skin, the smile, makes me feel you don't want to see me at all, Zhang Jin said, pinching Song Yi's face again. No, it's an honor to see you, young Master Zhang, Song Yi replied, still smiling, albeit nervously. At this point, it was clear to anyone that Song Yi was unwilling and afraid. Your skin, the smile, makes me feel you don't want to see me at all, Zhang Jin said, pinching Song Yi's face again. No, it's an honor to see you, young Master Zhang, Song Yi replied, still smiling, albeit nervously. At this point, it was clear to anyone that Song Yi was unwilling and afraid. You're smiling, but your smile doesn't reach your eyes. Why do I feel like you don't want to see me at all? Zhang Jin's voice grew louder. I have always told you that we should make connections with influential people who are beneficial to us, haven't I? Li Zishan said casually. Now, Zhang Xiao is such a person. Spending a night with him is no big deal. Go back quickly, I'll see you tomorrow. Hearing this, Song Yi nearly spat blood in anger. Beauty, you're smart. I love smart and beautiful women like you, Zhang Jin exclaimed, then proceeded to kiss Lu Zhishan several times on the cheek. Tonight, as long as you satisfy me, as long as you make me happy, the Porsche outside the door will be yours. And, in the future, you don't need to go to school anymore. Studying is too tiresome. Come work as my secretary at Tyanko Pharmaceutical Company tomorrow. You won't have to do anything when there's nothing to do, and when I want something, you'll do it. Monthly salary of 100,000 inch. After Zhang Jin finished kissing her, he said proudly. Hearing this, Lu Zhishan became even more charming. Insolence! Song Yi couldn't bear it any longer. He picked up the wine bottle from the table and smashed it towards Zhang Jin. But in that instant, Zhang Jin reacted swiftly. He suddenly leaped forward and kicked Song Yi with lightning speed. The kick was beyond ordinary, both in speed and strength, and hit Song Yi's abdomen squarely, producing a dull sound as Song Yi was sent flying. Lu Zhishan watched with gleaming eyes, finding it truly handsome. After that kick, a group of people rushed up and began punching and kicking Song Yi, causing him to scream in agony. You dare to insult me! Zhang Jin heard Song Yi cursing him and immediately walked up, kicking Song Yi again with great force, sending him rolling more than 10 meters until he hit the edge of a table. As Song Yi hit the table, the things on it were about to fall and hit him. However, at that moment, a hand reached out and caught them, preventing them from hitting Song Yi lying by the table. Song Yi looked at the hand weakly and uttered 2 words, Qin Fan. Chapter 53, Am I letting you go? Song Yi looked at Qin Fan, first stunned, then suddenly smiled, a smile tinged with bitterness, and spoke, If you want to laugh, go ahead. Let you see me in this sorry state. Those who insult others are often themselves insulted. This was proven true within a day. Qin Fan watched the pitiful sight of Song Yi lying on the ground without any hint of mockery, but rather with a touch of sympathy. To say that Song Yi was truly malicious would be an exaggeration. He merely wanted to flaunt his current success in front of his former peers to satisfy his vanity. This hardly qualified as malicious, especially since his attempt at pretension had failed. Compared to the actions of Zhang Jin, this was insignificant. As a feeling of sympathy arose, Qin Fan suddenly felt a change in his disposition, a feeling he had never experienced before, permeating his heart. With a slight curl of his lips, Qin Fan reached out his hand, intending to help Song Yi up from the ground. Song Yi, seeing Qin Fan extending his hand, appeared surprised. What are you trying to do? He asked. However, just as Qin Fan reached out, a cold voice cut in, Are you here to cause trouble while I'm busy? Naturally, it was Zhang Jin speaking. He immediately shouted at Qin Fan as soon as he saw him about to act. It's you! Lu Zhishan, at this moment, also noticed Qin Fan and blurted out. How so? Do you still recognize me? Zhang Jin asked immediately. Lu Zhishan then whispered a few words in Zhang Jin's ear. Upon hearing this, Zhang Jin and his men immediately approached Qin Fan, a playful smile on Zhang Jin's face. At that moment, Qin Fan had already helped Song Yi up from the ground. Song Yi looked at Qin Fan with a complicated gaze. He hadn't expected Qin Fan to extend a helping hand to him. But before he could say anything, he noticed Zhang Jin and his men approaching again and quickly stepped back. Though he was extremely angry, he knew he couldn't afford to be stubborn. He wanted to leave. However, just at that moment, Zhang Jin grabbed a bottle of wine from the side and smashed it towards Qin Fan's table. Qin Fan easily dodged the bottle. As the bottle smashed on the table with a loud bang, glass shattered and wine splattered everywhere, ruining everything on Qin Fan's table. Oh no, my bottle of wine is broken. Shouldn't you compensate for it? Just take your Lamborghini and compensate, Shaner, Zhang Jin said, striding over and arrogantly placing his foot on Qin Fan's chair. Hearing Zhang Jin call Lu Zhishan Shaner, Song Yi's heart sank. Are you looking for trouble? Qin Fan asked calmly. I'm looking for trouble? You smashed my wine, aren't you going to compensate? Are you trying to weasel out of it? Are you asking for trouble? Zhang Jin retorted sarcastically. You truly seem to be seeking death, Qin Fan said, looking at Zhang Jin calmly. You brat, you're tired of living. You dare to speak to Zhang Xiao like this? You're truly asking for death. Zhang Jin's lackeys angrily interjected. Zhang Jin waved his hand to silence the others and said, Kid, I tried reasoning with you first. Now, you dare to refuse? Now, kneel down, cut off your arm, and compensate me with your car, and I won't trouble you. Otherwise, I guarantee you won't see the sun tomorrow. With these last words, Zhang Jin smirked menacingly. Whom are you threatening with not seeing the sun tomorrow? But before he could finish his sentence, a low voice rang out, and 3 burly men in black walked in through the door, led by Chao Hu, who had a cigar in his mouth and a cold expression on his face. Evidently, their business at the Emperor Hao Tower was finished. If you dare touch Mr. Qin, believe me, I'll take you down. Chao Hu walked up without hesitation and spoke in a stern voice. In the past, he wouldn't have turned against Zhang Jin like this, but would have mediated between the two sides using his influence. After all, the Zhang family in Zhangcheng wasn't as prominent as the Zhang family in Miss Ning. But now things were different. He had seen Qin Fan's extraordinary abilities and decided to firmly grasp onto Qin Fan's thigh. So he didn't hesitate at all, directly stating his position. Song Yi was shocked to see Chao Hu supporting Qin Fan. He had seen Chao Hu before, but only from a distance, and he didn't even have the qualifications to speak to him. Never did he expect that Qin Fan would receive such treatment from Chao Hu. Recalling his vain boasting in front of Qin Fan yesterday, and his resentment towards him, he felt like a clown. He had intended to catch up with his childhood playmate after so many years, but he had messed it up yesterday. It's Chao Laohu. Zhang Jin, seeing Chao Hu, said mockingly, "Long time no see, hope you've been well. I see this kid dares to be so arrogant. Turns out he's got Chao Laohu backing him," he sneered. "But Chao Laohu, do you think a bit too highly of yourself? You're tearing up your face with me over some unknown kid. Can you handle the consequences? If Miss Ning Rushuan finds out about your actions, will she not strip off a few layers of your skin to come to me too?" Chapter 54, Excessive Provocation? Upon hearing Qin Fan's words, Zhang Jin halted his steps abruptly, whirling around to fix Qin Fan with an intense gaze. "Do you truly seek death?" Tonight, he had already given Chao Hu face and temporarily refrained from confronting Qin Fan. Little did he expect Qin Fan to still dare utter such arrogant words. "Qin Fan, he's not someone to be trifled with," stammered Song Yi. Qin Fan's words caused Song Yi's eyelids to twitch. He had thought that once Zhang Jin left, the matter would be resolved, but Qin Fan unexpectedly refused to let Zhang Jin go. If they truly pushed Zhang Jin to the edge, Chao Hu wouldn't be able to protect him at all. "Brother Yi, your friend seems quite formidable. Zhang Xiaoye isn't even bothering with you guys anymore, yet he's still stepping on your toes," remarked Lu Zhishan in a sarcastic tone. Upon hearing this, Chao Hu broke out in a cold sweat, feeling a deep sense of fear within him. "Smashing a bottle at me, ruining my appetite without even letting me eat, staining my clothes, and ruining my mood for dinner. This matter is quite serious," Qin Fan spoke lightly. A cold smirk appeared on Zhang Jin's face. "So what? You just demanded compensation for a limited edition Lamborghini worth 12 million after I mentioned it. Now, kneel down and apologize, pay 12 million, or else, don't even think about leaving here alive." Qin Fan's voice was icy gasp. Upon hearing Qin Fan's words, everyone present sucked in a sharp breath. Madness. He's truly mad. With Chao Hu backing him up, he's setting such conditions, truly mad. Very well indeed. Zhang Jin's anger soared upon hearing Qin Fan's words. "I've lived in Jiangcheng for so many years, and this is the first time I've encountered someone daring to speak to me like this. You're quite something, truly remarkable. Chao Laohu, regardless of your attitude tonight, this lad won't be leaving here alive," Zhang Jin declared. Upon hearing this, Chao Hu's scalp tingled, and he spoke up. "You better think this through, Mr. Qin isn't someone you can afford to provoke." "Not someone I can afford to provoke? Just because of you, Chao Laohu?" Zhang Jin snorted disdainfully. Click. At the moment his words fell, the sound of guns being cocked echoed, and Zhang Jin's lackeys had already drawn their firearms, aiming at Qin Fan. Bang. 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 As these guns were aimed at Qin Fan, several shots rang out in quick succession, followed immediately by a pitiful scream from one of Zhang Jin's lackeys. Blood gushed from his arm, and the handgun clattered to the ground. "Who the hell fired that shot? I'll slaughter his entire family." Zhang Jin erupted in anger at the sight, stomping on a nearby individual he didn't recognize, his fury palpable. "Whom do you want to kill?" Qin Fan's voice cut through the tension, and at that moment, Chen Yao, armed, strode in followed by Zhang Tianxiong. "Ah, the Zhang family sure has guts, wanting to wipe out my whole family. Come, let's see how the Zhang family plans to do it." Zhang Tianxiong spoke with full confidence upon entering, exuding a formidable aura. Upon seeing Zhang Tianxiong, everyone present paused for a moment before greeting him respectfully, "Mr. Zhang." Zhang Jin's complexion changed drastically. The Zhang family was truly the top family in Jiangcheng. Once they were angered, the Zhang family wouldn't be able to withstand the consequences. Originally, the Jiang family had gained their footing thanks to their military background, having earned numerous merits overseas before establishing the Jiang family in Zhangcheng. During his youth, Jiang Tianxiong had also served in the military, achieving countless feats abroad, his hands stained with the blood of many. The Jiang family definitely couldn't afford to provoke the Jiang family. Go ahead, shoot. I'm right here. Let me see how you plan to kill my entire family. Jiang Tianxiong stood in front of Zhang Jin, his voice stern. Zhang Jin broke out in a cold sweat, hastily retracting his gun, abandoning his previous arrogance, and repeatedly apologized. Elder Jiang, it's a misunderstanding, a misunderstanding. Misunderstanding? Jiang Tianxiong snorted disdainfully. You offend, Mr. Qin, and you think a mere misunderstanding will suffice? Everyone was astonished at Jiang Tianxiong's address of Qin Fan as Mr. Qin. What status did this Qin Fan hold? Zhang Jin's scalp tingled at this moment, filled with various perplexities. What was the deal with this lad? Not only Chao Hu, but even Jiang Tianxiong had come out to support him. Kneel down and apologize to Mr. Qin, sever one arm, compensate 12 million, then leave. Jiang Tianxiong's voice was cold once more. Zhang Jin was at a loss upon hearing Jiang Tianxiong's words. Smack! Jiang Tianxiong delivered a resounding slap to Zhang Jin's face, leaving a bright red handprint on his fair and handsome visage. Elder Jiang, it's truly a misunderstanding. Zhang Jin's voice trembled. Smack, asterisk. Before Zhang Jin could finish speaking, Jiang Tianxiong slapped him again. If you don't want to die, kneel down and apologize. With Jiang Tianxiong's words, silence engulfed the room. Jiang Tianxiong was warning Zhang Jin that if he didn't kneel and apologize, he might as well go and die. At this moment, the crowd didn't understand Jiang Tianxiong's intentions. If Zhang Jin didn't kneel and apologize, Qin Fan could easily kill him. Pardon me, in consideration of my grandfather's face. Zhang Jin stubbornly insisted. Asterisk smack. Smack. Smack, asterisk. Ignoring Zhang Jin completely, Jiang Tianxiong delivered several more slaps, swelling Zhang Jin's face. Kneel down and apologize. At this point, Zhang Jin could only swallow his pride, forcibly swallowing the teeth knocked out, and spoke to Qin Fan. Mr. Qin, I'm sorry. Smack. As soon as the words left Zhang Jin's mouth, Jiang Tianxiong raised his hand for another slap. If you can't understand what I'm saying, kneel down and apologize to Mr. Qin. Elder Jiang, you're going too far. Zhang Jin was thoroughly enraged by the successive slaps. He had already apologized, yet he was still being struck. Was there no dignity or reason left? Going too far? At this moment, Qin Fan spoke up. With his words, whether it was Jiang Tianxiong, Chao Hu, or even Chen Yao, all felt a chill run down their spines. Mr. Zhang, would you say I'm being too audacious? Qin Fan's foot rested upon Zhang Jin's visage, intermittently pressing down. Zhang Jin, under Qin Fan's foot, struggled to speak, fearing the consequences. If he admitted to it, Qin Fan would undoubtedly continue humiliating him. If he denied it, Qin Fan would find another method, perhaps even more outrageous. He truly desired to erupt in violence, to slay Chao Hu and Jiang Tianxiong, even if it meant fleeing the city, but he knew it was not feasible. For if he dared, the Zhang family would face utter ruin. Truly, he was a mere pawn. Finally, he could only seethe in silence, biting out through clenched teeth. Mr. Qin, what do you intend to do? My terms have been made clear. If you cannot comply, you won't leave here alive. I always deliver on my promises, Qin Fan uttered calmly, withdrawing his foot and seating himself. Zhang Jin struggled to rise, wanting to stand upright but succumbing to the pressure from Jiang Tianxiong and the others. He knelt before Qin Fan and spoke. Today, my eyes were blind. Mr. Qin, I apologize. With that, he produced a check and wrote out 1,200,000. Please, Mr. Qin, have mercy on me this once, Zhang Jin said, smiling, yet beneath that smile lurked menace. Qin Fan accepted the check and said calmly, your hand. At these words, Zhang Jin's expression changed. Wanting to curse but restraining himself, he replied, can we discuss this? Do you think you're qualified to negotiate with me? Qin Fan's tone remained indifferent, pathetic underdog. Zhang Jin cursed inwardly, but outwardly, he said, proceed. I'll take over. Chen Yao stepped forward, speaking as he approached. Upon reaching Zhang Jin, he wordlessly seized his hand and snapped it. Ah! Zhang Jin screamed in agony. Be gone, Qin Fan commanded. With that, Zhang Jin, crestfallen, departed hastily. Zhang Jin, go burn some incense. Today, you've been spared, Zhang Tianxiong warned. His implication was clear: if Zhang Jin dared to persist, he would meet his end today, and not just him, but possibly the entire Zhang family. Annihilating the Zhang family was within Qin Fan's power. Qin Fan. After Zhang Jin left, Song Yi timidly called out. Qin Fan patted Song Yi's shoulder, saying, I've paid no mind to it. Focus on your duties. What happened yesterday held no significance for him. Song Yi's demeanor had changed due to Qin Fan's compassion towards him, and this might bring about changes in his relationship with Ning Xia, thus Qin Fan's gesture served as a reciprocal favor. Thank you, Song Yi smiled, we'll invite you to our gatherings in the future. Qin Fan nodded and exchanged contact information with Song Yi. Zhang Tianxiong and Chao Hu observed Qin Fan's actions, understanding his concern for Song Yi. I'll take my leave now, Song Yi said after obtaining Qin Fan's contact information. He didn't dare, nor was he entitled to stay any longer. With that, he departed. Brother Yi, wait for me. Lu Shishan, seeing this, hurriedly followed, calling out sweetly to Song Yi while grabbing his hand. Get lost, go find your mister. Zhang, Song Yi shrugged off her hand, speaking coldly. And then he vanished from Qin Fan's sight. Mister. Qin, Zhang Jin surely won't take this lying down, Chao Wu approached and remarked. Let him. Qin Fan responded nonchalantly. Chao Hu smiled, realizing that Qin Fan didn't need to concern himself with such matters. I'll take my leave now. I believe Elder Jiang has something to discuss with you, Chao Hu said. With that, he departed with his men. Zhang Tianxiong then approached Qin Fan and said, Mr. Qin, Chao Hu has informed me of the matter. For the issue concerning Zhou Dajiang, deal with it yourselves. If you need my intervention, then speak to me. Qin Fan waved his hand. He had little interest in Zhou Dajiang's affairs. These were matters for the Jiang family and the Qinyuan Hall. If they couldn't resolve it, they could always come to him later. Zhang Tianxiong smiled upon hearing Qin Fan's words. He had received the answer he sought and bid Qin Fan farewell. After everyone had left, Qin Fan walked away. Passing by a table, he glanced at a woman wearing a hat and large sunglasses. Sensing Qin Fan's gaze, the woman lowered her hat. Exiting the steakhouse, Qin Fan thought to himself, those security officials following me are quite bothersome. The woman in the hat and sunglasses was none other than Suzaku, who had come looking for him earlier. It was because he knew Suzaku was there that he didn't act against Zhang Jin. Acting against someone in front of Chao Hu and Zhang Tianxiong would likely result in them cleaning up the mess, but acting against someone in front of the authorities or the military would only bring endless trouble, as evidenced by the visit from the wolf and Suzaku that night. Thus, Qin Fan could only give Zhang Jin a way out. After leaving the steakhouse, Qin Fan took out his phone and contacted Lin Qingyan. Is it done yet? In the Emperor Hall building, on the 88th floor, Lin Qingyan was dining with a man. After receiving the message, she replied, almost done. I'm at the Rossler restaurant on the 88th floor. Wait for me at the entrance. After sending the message, Lin Qingyan looked at the man in front of her. This man was dressed in an expensive Armani suit, handsome in appearance, and had a graceful demeanor. He held up a glass of red wine and spoke to Lin Qingyan. Miss Lin, let me propose a toast to you. Mr. Huang, I can't drink anymore. My boyfriend is waiting for me. I should go back. Lin Qingyan smiled politely, declining. The man, named Huang Haiming, was the investment director of the Wang Group in Huahai City, preparing to expand the market for the Wang Group in Jiangcheng. Miss Lin, you already have a boyfriend? Huang Haiming's expression changed slightly upon hearing Lin Qingyan's words. Yes. Lin Qingyan nodded slightly. So, Huang Yong, I really have to go now. It's okay. Huang Haiming smiled warmly. Let me escort you, Miss Lin. No need. Lin Qingyan quickly declined. It's rare to have such an outstanding woman as Miss Lin as a girlfriend. I'm sure your boyfriend is an exceptional person, so I'd like to meet him. Huang Haiming smiled and spoke. Lin Qingyan felt unable to refuse after hearing this, so she said, all right. With that, the two got up and left the restaurant together. Meanwhile, Qin Fan had already been waiting outside the restaurant entrance. You're so slow, Qin Fan said when he saw Lin Qingyan come out. Lin Qingyan gave Qin Fan an annoyed look, then introduced him to Huang Haiming. "This is my boyfriend, Xin Fan. He's a doctor." "Hello, I'm Huang Haiming, the investment director of the Wang Group in Huahai," Huang Haiming greeted politely, extending his hand and appraising Xin Fan. Quite an ordinary person, yet to become Lin Xingyan's boyfriend, he was somewhat surprised. "Oh." Xin Fan responded politely, shaking Huang Haiming's hand before letting go. He then turned to Lin Xingyan and said, "Shall we?" Huang Haiming, upon witnessing Xin Fan's demeanor, was slightly taken aback. Despite clearly revealing his identity, there was no response from Xin Fan, who simply wanted to leave. "Huang, I hope this collaboration will consider our exquisite company," Lin Xingyan remarked, sensing the awkwardness. Upon hearing Lin Xingyan's words, Huang Haiming regained composure and turned to her, saying, "Miss Lin, I am currently making preparations on behalf of my young master. However, given Miss Lin's excellence, I believe my young master would not refuse to cooperate with you." "I look forward to working with you," Lin Xingyan replied with a smile. "Don't dawdle, let's go," Xin Fan urged as the two continued chatting, feeling a change in his mood and eager to return to his cultivation. Lin Xingyan, hearing Xin Fan's words, gave him a glare before speaking. "Well then, Mr. Huang, goodbye." With that, she left with Xin Fan, heading to the underground garage. As Huang Haiming watched them depart, a man in a gray coat appeared at his side. "Muchang, what do you think of this woman, Lin Xingyan?" Huang Haiming asked without looking at the man. "She's exceptional. Few in Huahai can match her. But it seems she doesn't know her place. Should I take action and deliver her to the young master's bed?" Mu Chang suggested. Mu Chang, although the young master enjoys women, he dislikes such methods, Huang Haiming replied with a smile. "As a martial artist, I'm straightforward. If I fancy someone, I'll seize them with my strength," Mu Chang casually remarked. "And that Xin Fan just now had a terrible attitude. Should I do something about him?" Mu Chang added. "No need. He's just a bumpkin. Why bother? Our priority now is to prepare for the young master's arrival in Jiangcheng," Huang Haiming said with a smile, a glint of determination in his eyes. "Why was your attitude so poor?" Lin Xingyan, seated in the passenger seat, looked at Xin Fan and spoke. Since Lin Xingyan had consumed some alcohol, Xin Fan was driving her red BMW home, leaving his Lamborghini in the garage. "My attitude was poor?" Xin Fan asked, somewhat puzzled. "Indeed, I found your demeanor rather aloof," Lin Xingyan remarked meaningfully, gazing at Xin Fan. "I'm not familiar with him, do I need to be enthusiastic?" Xin Fan countered. "My relationship with him is purely business." "Don't be jealous," Lin Xingyan playfully retorted. Huang Haiming was refined and successful in his career, making him a suitable marriage prospect. Xin Fan rolled his eyes at her words, too lazy to respond. What was Lin Xingyan thinking? How could he possibly be jealous? They were not a couple. Perhaps it was the alcohol talking. His coldness toward Huang Haiming had a reason behind it. Having lived with his birth mother and foster mother in Huahai City for over a decade, Xin Fan held a natural aversion towards the Wang family of Huahai, particularly due to his foster mother's disdain for them. This deep-seated resentment made him wary of anyone associated with the Wang family, including Huang Haiming. As for the conflict between his foster mother and the Wang family, the details were unclear, but there was undoubtedly some history of grievances between them. There was always some enmity between them, after all. Half an hour later, the two arrived back at the villa, and Xin Fan promptly retreated to his room, locking the door. Tonight, his mood unexpectedly shifted, and he needed to focus on his cultivation. Releasing the Chaos Pearl, the aura around him boiled as it had before, then condensed more solidly than ever before. After this condensation, a third of Xin Fan's aura had solidified, inadvertently enhancing his strength. The condensed aura wouldn't dissipate but transform into a more stable, controllable, and even stronger protective aura. Xin Fan knew that if he could fully condense his aura, he would undoubtedly advance to the mid-stage of the Yuan infant realm, and his protective aura would evolve into another form, which would become his domain once he reached the nascent soul realm. The next day was the Tianbao auction. Jiang Qingning personally came to pick up Xin Fan. Today, Jiang Qingning had dressed up deliberately, with her long legs accentuated by black stockings, the scene enticing. Mr. Xin, I'm here to pick you up, Jiang Qingning smiled at Xin Fan. Let's go, Xin Fan said. With that, he got into Jiang Qingning's Ferrari. Seeing Xin Fan's lack of reaction to her carefully chosen attire, Jiang Qingning furrowed her brows slightly. Could it be that her allure didn't compare to Lin Xingyan's? This thought left her feeling somewhat disgruntled, but she wasn't disheartened. Given enough time, she believed she could win over Qin Fan. Jiang Qingning started the car and drove towards the location of the auction. Grandpa told me about last night's incident. I regret not being there, otherwise, I would have loved to see Zhang Jin's face. Jiang Qingning remarked as they drove. Killed him? Qin Fan asked. At the very least, emasculated him, Jiang Qingning replied. Qin Fan couldn't help but laugh, giving her a thumbs up. You're ruthless. Jiang Qingning blinked at Qin Fan. Does Mr. Qin prefer gentle women? Qin Fan understood the implication in her words and smiled. I prefer useful women. Useful women? How do you define useful women? Jiang Qingning asked curiously. Qin Fan originally wanted to say that women who can cultivate with him to enhance their strength are considered useful. Indeed, in Qin Fan's eyes, women fell into two categories, those who could cultivate with him and those who couldn't. Cultivating together to enhance strength was mutually beneficial. Therefore, Qin Fan had cultivated with many female cultivators in the past, typically parting ways after several sessions. As for emotions? They didn't come into play, but since Jiang Qingning wouldn't understand, Qin Fan replied, I'll tell you later. Jiang Qingning thought to herself, is he asking me to figure it out on my own? Soon after, the two chatted casually on the way, and about an hour later, they arrived at a villa on the outskirts of Jiangchang. This villa was called Tianbao Villa, where the auction was being held. Inside the villa, the atmosphere was lively, with people bustling about. As the two entered the villa and walked a few steps, they encountered two individuals coming their way. One was old and elegant, while the other was young and handsome, unmistakably a scion of a prominent family. Jiang Qingning, are you here to buy medicine for that old man Jiang again? The young man remarked sarcastically upon seeing Jiang Qingning. Pu Yanyan, what are you doing in Jiangcheng instead of staying in Huahai? Jiang Qingning furrowed her brows at the comment before launching a counterattack. Jiangcheng is not your family's estate, I'll come as I please, Pei Yangyan scoffed. How is your grandfather, Miss Jiang? The old man smiled faintly. Don't bother, Mr. Fu, my grandfather is doing very well now, Jiang Qingning replied promptly. Jiang Qingning, there's no need to pretend. I know exactly what kind of person your grandfather is. As long as you marry into my Fu family, everything will be fine, Pei Yangyan immediately interjected. Pei Yangyan, my grandfather said even if he were to die, he wouldn't let me marry you. You better give up on that idea, Jiang Qingning retorted coldly. There are plenty of beauties who want to marry me, I don't need you alone. If your grandfather wants to die, just let him. Pei Yangyan sneered. Jiang Qingning, why put yourself through this? The old man shook his head. Let's go. Jiang Qingning snorted coldly, not wanting to talk to the two men anymore, and led Qin Fan away. Yangyan, do you know the man with Jiang Qingning? The old man asked as they walked away. People coming out of Jiangcheng, how could I possibly know them? At most, he's Jiang Qingning's new bodyguard, Pei Yangyan replied. The old man furrowed his brow slightly. He seems ordinary, but I can't shake the feeling that there's something odd about him. Grandfather, don't overthink it. What could he possibly do to us? Dare to lay a hand on us? Pei Yangyan replied disdainfully. The old man smiled and said, let's go in. This time there are some good things, I must get my hands on them. As the auction began, Jiang Qingning and Qin Fan completed the formalities and took their seats. Who are those two? Qin Fan asked Jiang Qingning after they sat down. The old man is Fu Zisher, and the young one is Fu Yangyan, from the Fu family of Huahai, Jiang Qingning replied to Qin Fan. The Fu family of Huahai? Qin Fan seemed to have some impression, as if it were a formidable family from Huahai. The Fu family of Huahai is one of the top families in Jiangnan, and the head of the Fu family, Fu Baishao, is a master of both medicine and martial arts. He is known as the Jiangnan Medical Saint, ranking 33rd on the earthly ranking of the Supreme Masters. However, he has rarely appeared in the past 20 years, so he is now ranked 33rd. Still, his medical skills are top-notch in the world. As for his strength, some say that 20 years of absence means he's been honing his skills to break through to the great master level, while others say that he died long ago. In short, opinions are divided, Jiang Qingning explained to Qin Fan, her eyes showing reverence when she mentioned Fu Baishao. Fu Baishao, the Supreme Master, was enough to support a family on his own. Do you have a grudge with the Fu family? Qin Fan asked. How could we possibly have a grudge with the Fu family? We can't afford to provoke the medical saint of the Fu family. Fu Zisha and Fu Yangyan are just from a collateral branch, Jiang Qingning started to explain. It's just that back then, when my grandfather was ill, we wanted to ask for Fu medical saint's help, but we couldn't even see him, so we found Fu Zisha. Fu Zisha's medical skills aren't bad, he's known as Fu Xingshou, Fu Holy Hand, but he asked me to marry Fu Yangyan, Jiang Qingning continued with a bitter smile. It's extortion, worse than animals. Qin Fan interjected. Jiang Qingning smiled bitterly at the words, yes, it's worse than animals, trying to swallow our Jiang family. Naturally, my grandfather refused, so we ended up with enmity. I didn't expect that today, our old enemies would show up at this auction in Jiangchang. It seems this auction really has something good. As long as they don't snatch my extreme Yang stone, Qin Fan said. For the Taiyan spirit body, the extreme Yang stone was a must-have. Whoever dared to covet it would have to pay the price. During their conversation, the auction began after more than 2 hours. The palm-sized extreme Yang stone was finally displayed. This stone was discovered in a volcanic area by an international A-level organization. After being brought out, it has been emitting heat continuously, but its use is unknown. The starting price is 1 million. The auctioneer introduced the origin of the stone and then began the bidding. Although its purpose was unknown, the fact that the stone could continuously emit heat made it quite valuable. As a result, the price quickly rose to 15 million. After reaching 15 million, Qin Fan, who had been waiting for a long time, finally signaled Jiang Qingning to bid. Jiang Qingning immediately raised her placard and shouted loudly, 20 million. At present, Qin Fan's funds were very substantial. Chao Hu gave him 120 million, and he had an additional 100 million credit limit on Jiang family's long card. Adding Zhang Jin's compensation of 12 million, he could easily use 230 million, and he could also make Jiang Qingning contribute. However, at this auction, the highest bid was only 150 million, so Qin Fan was determined to win the extreme Yang stone. But after Jiang Qingning bid 20 million, other bidders shook their heads. Since the purpose of the stone was unknown, 15 million was the highest price they were willing to pay, and no one else made a bid. Just as the extreme Yang stone was about to be bought, a voice rang out. 25 million. Pei Yangyan raised his placard with a faint smile. Qin Fan frowned when he looked at Pei Yangyan. This bastard is deliberately raising the price. Jiang Qingning snorted coldly and continued to bid, 30 million. 35 million. But as soon as Jiang Qingning shouted, she was outbid by Pei Yangyan. The whole room was in an uproar, and everyone could see that this was a contest between the two. 40 million. Jiang Qingning raised her placard again. 45 million. And at that moment, Pei Yangyan immediately countered. 50 million. Jiang Qingning bid again. 60 million. Pei Yangyan continued to bid. Offer 100 million. Feeling increasingly impatient from being suppressed repeatedly, Qin Fan turned to Jiang Qingning and said. Hearing Qin Fan's offer of 100 million, Jiang Qingning's eyes twitched. She said to Qin Fan, Mr. Qin, wouldn't it be a waste to spend 100 million on this stone of unknown purpose? Although the Jiang family was rich and could afford to spend 100 or 200 million, they couldn't just be slaughtered like pigs. I know its purpose, and I must get it at all costs. Qin Fan said. In fact, Qin Fan had one more thing to say. Money meant nothing to him, just some numbers. Chapter 58, The Swap. Upon hearing this, Jiang Qingning hesitated no more and boldly declared, 100 million. When Pei Yangyan heard Jiang Qingning's straightforward bid of 100 million, his heart skipped a beat, and he glanced at his grandfather continue bidding. This is very likely the extreme Yang stone recorded in ancient texts. It is a rare treasure of heaven and earth, incomparable to ordinary treasures, Fu Zisha remarked. 110 million. Pei Yangyan immediately raised his bid upon hearing this, gritting his teeth as he did so. 150 million. Jiang Qingning promptly followed with her bid. Do you, Miss Jiang, have the means to bid this high? Pei Yangyan couldn't bear it and retorted angrily, his face turning red. If you have the money, bid, if not, then silence. Jiang Qingning retorted loudly. She aimed to become a valuable ally to Qin Fan and win his favor. This was her opportunity to act. Qin Fan nodded slightly in approval of Jiang Qingning's actions. Pei Yangyan turned to his grandfather, Fu Zisha, and said, Grandfather, I believe they are deliberately driving up the price. Should we continue bidding? Fu Zishi's expression turned cold. Could it be that they know this stone is the precious extreme yang stone? Impossible. Grandfather, Jiang Qingning is definitely deliberately raising the price, trying to intimidate us. Pei Yongyan spoke up. Upon hearing this, Fu Zishi's brow furrowed, and he said, "Let's not bid anymore. We'll use other means." As soon as Pei Yongyan heard this, his eyes lit up with understanding. No more bidding. The auctioneer swiftly concluded the bidding, and Jiang Qingning breathed a sigh of relief. She had fulfilled her mission by securing the extreme yang stone for Qin Fan. You performed admirably. You will be rewarded later, Qin Fan said to Jiang Qingning with a smile. May I inquire about the reward in advance? Jiang Qingning smiled coyly, batting her eyelashes. I haven't decided yet, but I assure you it won't disappoint, Qin Fan replied. Upon hearing this, Jiang Qingning refrained from further inquiries, her heart filled with anticipation for Qin Fan's reward. As the auction concluded, Jiang Qingning accompanied Qin Fan backstage to complete the transaction and inspect the goods. However, after waiting for over half an hour, a hurried representative from Tianbao Mountain Villa rushed over and delivered the goods to Qin Fan and Jiang Qingning. Dear guests, we apologize for the delay. There was a disturbance backstage caused by a guest, which delayed the process, the representative explained. With that, he opened the exquisite box containing the extreme yang stone and said, "Here are the goods." Fake, Qin Fan immediately remarked after glancing at the stone inside. Jiang Qingning and the representative from Tianbao Mountain Villa turned pale upon hearing this. Impossible. Tianbao Villa would never sell fake goods. Everything we auction has been appraised, and we have guarantees in place. If it's fake, we'll compensate tenfold. The representative from Tianbao Villa quickly replied. Yes, Mr. Qin, perhaps you've mistaken it, Jiang Qingning also spoke up. The one at the auction was real, but this one is fake. Someone swapped it backstage, Qin Fan asserted confidently. As he spoke, he picked up the stone, gently pressing it. The stone cracked open, revealing a small, heating device inside. The representative from Tianbao Mountain Villa's expression changed drastically. How could this happen? Who would dare to swap Tianbao Villa's items backstage? They will be blacklisted. Only someone knowledgeable would discern its authenticity. Without me, no one would have realized it was fake, Qin Fan calmly stated. Jiang Qingning and the representative from Tianbao Villa were stunned. Qin Fan was right. If he hadn't realized it was fake, no one would have known about the swap. I will report this immediately and ensure an investigation, the representative from Tianbao Villa said. No need. Where are the two from the Fu family? Qin Fan asked. Upon hearing Qin Fan's words, both Jiang Qingning and the representative understood. It was Fu Zishi and Pei Yongyan who had swapped the extreme yang stone. They left as soon as the auction ended, the representative from Tianbao Villa immediately replied. Let's go. Qin Fan said to Jiang Qingning. The extreme yang stone was a must-have. Jiang Qingning nodded and followed Qin Fan out. I'll drive. Qin Fan said as he got into the driver's seat of the Ferrari. Jiang Qingning hesitated for a moment upon hearing this, then quickly sat in the passenger seat. They're probably heading to Huahai City. They must still be on the highway. Jiang Qingning said. V-room. In an instant, the Ferrari's engine roared like a wild beast as it accelerated. Jiang Qingning screamed as the speed was overwhelming, reaching over 250 km per hour on the road. This is the first time in so many years that someone has tried to steal from me. Those two are truly audacious, Qin Fan said with a cold expression as he drove. In the midst of their conversation, Jiang Qingning felt the temperature around her drop several degrees. Having cultivated for 200 years, Qin Fan had participated in many auctions among cultivators, always being the one to seize treasures from others. But this was the first time his coveted item had been swapped by someone else. Meanwhile, a Mercedes-Benz raced on the highway. Sitting in the back seat, Fu Zishi held the warm extreme yang stone in his hand, reveling in it. You truly live up to your reputation, grandfather. You had the fake prepared in advance, Pei Yongyan said as he drove, unable to contain his joy. One must always be prepared, Fu Zishi said with a smile. Jiang Qingning spent 150 million, only to buy a fake. She deserves it. Pei Yongyan's mood was exceptionally pleasant at this moment. Consider it a lesson for that wretched girl, to make her understand the consequences of opposing me. She lacks foresight. Even if she got a fake, she wouldn't know. She's probably playing with it, oblivious, Fu Zisher said disdainfully. Indeed, the Jiang family rose to prominence only 50 years ago. How can they compare to our Fu family, with centuries of heritage? Even if she got a fake, she wouldn't realize it. Now, she's probably holding onto the fake, unable to let go, Fu Zisher said with a sneer. Grandfather, what if Tianbo Villa discovers we swapped it? Pei Yongnian asked anxiously. What if Tianbao Villa finds out? Do they not wish to collaborate with our Fu family anymore? We produce various miraculous medicines, Fu Zisher laughed heartily. You're right, grandfather. With our family's expertise in medicine, everyone will come to us eventually, Tianbao Villa included, Pei Yongnian said proudly. So, you must work hard, study medicine diligently, and impress that old ancestor. With your mastery of medicine, the world will be at your fingertips, Fu Zisher said. I understand, grandfather, Pei Yong. Nian said immediately. Just as Pei Yongnian finished speaking, a beam of light shone upon them. In an instant, Pei Yongnian glanced at the rearview mirror and his face turned pale. Grandfather, it's Jiang Qingning's car. What? Fu Zisher's face changed. How could that girl possibly realize it's fake? Even if she did, she shouldn't have caught up with us so quickly. Pei Yongnian wondered. Don't panic. Once we reach Huahai City, it's our territory. That girl won't be able to touch us then. Fu Zisher said calmly. Understood. Pei Yongnian accelerated towards Huahai City. Meanwhile, in Jiang Qingning's Ferrari, Jiang Qingning's face turned pale, panting heavily. Xin Fan was driving too fast, even faster than an F1 driver, mister. Xin, we're almost at Huahai City. If we enter Huahai City, it'll be their territory, and it'll be troublesome, Jiang Qingning said. Dreaming of going back to Huahai City? Not a chance, Xin Fan said coldly. As he spoke, he floored the accelerator, and the Ferrari's engine emitted a terrifying roar as it accelerated. Ah! In that instant, Jiang Qingning screamed as the Ferrari violently collided with the Mercedes-Benz ahead with a loud bang. Chapter 59, Reclaiming. The Ferrari surged forward, colliding with the Mercedes-Benz with a resounding crash. They smashed through the barrier, hurtling out of the expressway, soaring into the air before plummeting heavily, tumbling down the slope. Jiang Qingning felt as if her soul had been jolted from her body. At the moment of impact, she thought she would die. Xin Fan's recklessness was truly astounding. He seemed utterly heedless of danger. To ram into the other vehicle like that, the speed must have been at least 200 kilometers per hour. Was this a suicidal attack? However, after the chaos subsided, Jiang Qingning was stunned to find herself unharmed. Nothing had happened. Meanwhile, the Mercedes-Benz lay overturned, billowing smoke, while her Ferrari remained unscathed, as if untouched by the collision. Jiang Qingning stared blankly at Xin Fan. Was this man truly an immortal? Naturally, Xin Fan remained composed. With a wave of his hand, he had shielded the entire car with his mana. Not a scratch, not even a dent, marred the vehicle's surface. In fact, he could have used a more aggressive approach, forcefully seizing the Mercedes-Benz with his mana. However, with Jiang Qingning present, he opted for a relatively conventional method, a head-on collision. Exiting the car, Xin Fan was soon followed by Jiang Qingning, who joined him by the side of the Mercedes-Benz. It has indeed been tampered with, Xin Fan remarked upon seeing the tightly clenched extreme yang stone in Pei Yongnian's hand, reaching out to take it. Young man, you court death. Pei Yongnian suddenly opened his eyes wide, grabbing Xin Fan's arm fiercely. This belongs to the Fu family. How dare you snatch it? Xin Fan looked into Pei Yongnian's eyes coldly. I spent 150 million to buy it. Dare you take what's mine? With these words, Xin Fan made a sudden pull, yanking Pei Yongnian out of the car and slamming him to the ground. Ah! Pei Yongnian cried out in pain. Daring to steal from me and still have the audacity to speak boldly. Xin Fan reclaimed the extreme yang stone and confirmed its authenticity before speaking. Pei Yongnian, a renowned national medical expert and an innate realm martial artist, was humiliated in such a manner, an intolerable insult crawling up from the ground, his eyes filled with malice. Pei Yongnian glared at Xin Fan. Kid, you seek death. With that, Pei Yongnian suddenly produced 5 silver needles, surrounded by true qi. Mr. Xin, be careful. This is the Fu family's ultimate technique, the 5 elements soul retrieval needle. Jiang Qingning screamed at the sight. But before she could finish, Pei Yangyan had already hurled the 5 silver needles. Silent as lightning, the 5 needles shot toward Qinfan. This was the Fu family's ultimate skill, the 5 elements soul retrieval needle. It could heal or kill, depending on the wielder's intent. Once the needles pierced the 5 major acupoints, even a master of the innate realm would be powerless to resist. However, Qinfan was a cultivator in the early stage of the nascent soul realm. Such techniques were child's play to him. With a flick of his hand, he instantly pulverized the flying needles into dust, then reached out with his right hand in an instant. Pei Yangyan felt himself being pulled by a powerful force, lifted into the air, and then flung toward Qinfan, who caught him by the neck, holding him aloft. Witnessing this scene, Jiang Qingning was dumbfounded. She thought her eyes were playing tricks on her. Just now, she had seen Qinfan effortlessly shatter all the silver needles and, even more astonishingly, capture Pei Yangyan mid-air. To capture an object mid-air, even a grandmaster would find it difficult. Qinfan truly was an immortal. You old fool, not only did you steal from me, but you also dared to assassinate me. In the past, I would have annihilated your entire family, but now, my temperament has changed somewhat. I won't wipe out your entire clan, just you. Qinfan coldly addressed Pei Yangyan as he squeezed his neck. Unable to utter a word, Pei Yangyan's face turned red, filled with regret. Why did he provoke this star of calamity? Mr. Qin, please don't kill him. At this moment, Jiang Qingning suddenly spoke up, urging Qinfan to spare Pei Yangyan's life. Qinfan heard Jiang Qingning's voice and stopped, releasing his grip on Pei Yangyan's neck. Mr. Qin, although he is a distant relative of the Fu family, killing him will undoubtedly provoke retaliation from the main branch of the Fu family. In these extraordinary times, we really can't afford to make too many enemies, Jiang Qingning persuaded. While those of the collateral branch held a lower status in the Fu family, the main branch would never allow their collateral members to be killed at will. If one were to be killed, retaliation was inevitable. At present, with the Jiang family facing Zhou Dajiang's threat, adding the Fu family would be too much for them to bear. After pondering for a moment upon hearing her words, Qinfan released his grip. Pei Yangyan promptly landed on the ground, gasping for breath, grateful to have escaped with his life, Mr. Qin, I was blind and offended you. I will never dare to do so again. Pei Yangyan knelt on the ground, pleading with Qinfan. You were indeed blind. Therefore, you no longer need your eyes. Qinfan's voice was cold. With these words, he raised his hand and released 2 bursts of energy. Ah! Pei Yangyan's eyes gushed blood, and he fell to the ground, screaming. My eyes. Seeing this scene, Jiang Qingning's heart trembled. Qinfan's power was truly unfathomable. Let's go. Qinfan held the extreme young stone, addressing Jiang Qingning. Only then did Jiang Qingning come back to her senses. She quickly walked to the Ferrari with Qinfan. I'll drive. Upon entering the city, Qinfan noticed that Jiang Qingning didn't take him back to Lin Qingyan's place. He promptly asked where she was taking him. Mr. Qin, you wanted a villa, didn't you? I happen to have one on hand. I'll take you there now. Jiang Qingning smiled brightly. You're quite prompt. Let's go then. Qinfan agreed. With that, Jiang Qingning stepped on the gas, heading toward the highest peak in the city, Mount Tianhong.